second green-white checker when this race restarts.
My gosh, this is incredible! They're beating
they hit the wall! Bobby Hamilton up almost on 2 wheels.
We haven't got the white flag yet. We will have another green-white checker.
Oh!
Crash.
Here we go again!
Up on the side, it's the 14 of Rick Crawford sliding sideways down the backstretch.
Oh, Lord.
Unbelievable. We will try for the 4th time for a green-white checker.
Green flag flies and we'll try it again.
Here we go again!
Contact! Moves him out of the way and David Starr comes out and wins race number 2 of his career.
4 times we go green-white checkered, and that gave you the opportunity.
Who will have the luck today? We're at the Gateway to the West. That's the Gateway Arch, or in St. Louis, Missouri. 630 feet tall is that arch. Welcome to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Copart 200 on speed. Well, welcome everyone. Luckily, I'm about the distance it is from one end of the base to the other, 630 feet, from Adam Alexander and Ray Dunlap. They are on pit road, and they're going to bring us all of the interesting details that we've got to look forward to here at St. Louis and the Gateway International Raceway. Let's start off with Ray.
Well, thank you, Rick. You know, I think we got to talk about perseverance a lot whenever we start talking about racing in the Camping World Truck Series. And what do you got to talk about perseverance with this team? Well, that's because Brian Scott and Jeff Hensley were not very good in practice, I promise you, but they have persevered. They had a setup in this truck that they weren't very happy with, but they made big changes, and Brian Scott qualified 4th. Watch for the 16 to be good today. What's happening on your end, Adam?
Ray, another team looking to overcome adversity would be that of David Starr. He starts 14th today, but that's not at all the story. They're in a backup truck because his throttle hung yesterday and he hit the wall, destroying his primary. The backup was prepared to go to Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. The team has worked very hard to get this truck ready to race, and if David Starr can get his 2nd win at St. Louis today, it will no doubt be well-deserved. Rick?
There are 3 other drivers that have been to victory lane here at Gateway International Raceway. Can they join Ted Musgrave, the only driver to repeat his wins at this racetrack? We'll find out. But first, let's go trackside for our invocation.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for today's invocation, we'd like to introduce Reverend Greg Dessard from the Midwest Racing Ministries.
Father, we thank you that you are our provider and our protector. And Father, we thank you that you have provided such a beautiful day for us for racing here at Gateway International Raceway. Father, we pray that during this race you would provide your protection for everyone here with an extra measure of safety for the drivers while they're on the track. And Father, we want to remember to pray for our protection for our troops that are serving us around this world, that we might truly be free. Bless this day of racing. Shalom and amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, greeting the greatest song on earth, the national anthem of the United States of America. Representing the I-70 Quarter Midget Association, please welcome Heather Hamilton.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner
Colin Brown, Ron Hornaday will bring the field to the green flag at Gateway International Raceway. We continue to move forward as we get closer to the green flag flying. Before we get to that part, let's back up a bit and let's recheck with our update and Chris Devoda.
All right, thanks, Rick. If you missed qualifying, it was the Conway Highway. I'm in the 6th pit because Colin Brown is on the pole, his 3rd pole of the season. The only guy in the series who has more than him, Ron Hornaday, our points leader. And by the way, he starts 2nd. If you missed the setup, you missed a great feature on Timothy Peters. Talk about a kid overcoming obstacles. He has not finished in the top 10 only twice over the last 2 months. A great story, especially a blueprint for inspiration in our struggling economy, the fact that he is doing so well. Also, this track, unlike any other on the series, we talked about some of the young guys with momentum. Eric Almirola, Taylor Molson, Brian Scott. Keep your eye on those guys as well. You know, tonight, the chase field will be set for NASCAR's big boys, but the championship for the Truck Series, well, that could flip-flop all the way to South Beach, just outside the Show Me States borders. Rick, Phil, Johnny, it's time for these Truck Series drivers to show off.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we would expect them to do, is show off here at Gateway International Raceway. Rick Allen, Phil Parsons, Johnny Benson with you once again. Now, let's talk about this racetrack and the difficulty of maybe winning this race today.
Well, it certainly is. It's a very challenging racetrack, and the last practice was really last night. With the track conditions very, very cool. As a matter of fact, qualifying earlier today, the track temperature was 15 degrees cooler than it was during that practice last night. That's why a lot of the guys, maybe Mike Skinner's one of those guys that we thought would really run well qualifying, didn't run as well as they would have liked because they adjusted on their trucks during that last practice when it was a lot cooler. It's even hotter right now, Johnny, and this racetrack, even though it's 1.25 miles in length and considered a super speedway, it races like a short track.
It does. It races exactly like a short track, just a little longer straightaways. A lot of guys came with different setups here, thinking that they could come across something to be a little bit better. Some of them people went right back to what they had last year.
Tight radius in turns 1 and 2, a little more sweeping turns in 3 and 4. And like they mentioned, the banking very, very short here at this track. Let's get the engines fired. Let's go for the command.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in motorsports, our Grand Marshal representing the 504th Military Police Battalion. Once again, let's welcome Sergeant Nicole Howell.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
I believe that was officially a command from the sergeant. The engines are fired. 36 trucks have come to life. When we come back, we'll see the green flag. Welcome back to the Copart 200. Trucks begin to roll off of pit road and on to the racetrack. Weather conditions today absolutely gorgeous here in the St. Louis, Missouri area. 79 degrees, partly cloudy. Perfect day for racing. Very low humidity here as well, so it's a perfect combination. Our starting grid will roll across the bottom of your screen. Again, the front row is Colin Brown and Ron Hornaday Jr. So a pretty impressive front row once again in the Camping World Truck Series. We want to take a look at our ZMAX track description of this, well, super speedway that you guys are calling a short track.
Yeah, and this doesn't even really explain it. You can see the banking down in 1 and 2 is 11 degrees. That corner, as we've talked about, much sharper than the other end of the racetrack. It's like a turn 1 and 2 at Memphis down in 1 and 2, and turn 3 and 4 at Phoenix down at the other end, except it's a little bit expanded.
It is. This track is very difficult in 1 and 2, and you have to get through there good to even have an opportunity to run up front this track.
Taking a look at our Royal Purple race analysis, 36 trucks will start. It's a 200-mile race, which is 160 laps.
You can see the pit window was about 65 to 75 laps. That means we're going to have at least 2 pit stops for fuel. Now, the tire strategy may differ from that.
We won't need lights to illuminate the track, but we do want to shine a spotlight on a few different drivers. We'll start with Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. I'd like to talk about Jason Young today. He comes from the Houston area. He started his racing career the way most young men do these days. He started in Bandoleros and Legends, but then moved up to late model racing, and he's done very well in everything that he's raced. So now it's on to the Camping World Truck Series, and his real goal is to get approved to run the bigger tracks, especially Texas Motor Speedway. That's where his family is, and they're hoping to run there in our upcoming event. Today, it's an audition for the folks at NASCAR to make sure Jason Young is better and ready for the bigger tracks. Adam?
Dexter Bean, no stranger to stock vehicle racing. He's a veteran of the ARCA REMAX Series and has tried to make a few Sprint Cup Series races here in 2009. Today he's driving the 73 truck because J.J. Yaley, who we usually see behind the wheel, was injured in a motor racing accident a few weeks ago. Dexter Bean said he hopes a good run today will open the door for him to run this truck a couple of more times this year. They have had their issues, but Phil, they made the field and they are ready to race.
Adam, I want to take a look at Todd Cleaver. Great to have Todd back in the Camping World Truck Series. Had a great season. He was a Rookie of the Year in the series back in 2005. He has 3 second-place finishes to his credit when he was a driver for Roush Fenway. Todd is from nearby Wisconsin. He's 31 years old, and he's going to start that Malcolmson Construction Chevrolet in the 18th position. Johnny?
I'm going to talk about Ryan Seed. See, he started, or this is his 7th start in this series. Best qualifying run this week is 13th, and his career best finish at Milwaukee, 13th, and he also came from the Super Late Model Series.
Well, guys, Krista mentioned earlier about painting pictures, and our director will paint some pictures from inside a few different trucks, one of those being Ricky Carmichael. He will start in the 20th spot. David Starr also carries one of our cameras. He'll start 14th, a little closer to the front. Then we move up to Todd Bodine. He will start 7th and carry a camera. And how about 2nd in the points? Matt Crafton starting in the 6th spot, also giving us pictures that he will see from the cockpit of his truck. Let's go for Thoughts Before Green and Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. Let's talk about Ron Hornaday. Not like we don't talk about him every week, but he has a big point lead, no doubt about that, and he's the defending race winner here. But when it comes to flat tracks, this team is always good, and when they have the truck that he's driving today, which is chassis number 27, this team is phenomenal. Look at the numbers. Only one bad finish in this truck. That was at Phoenix International Raceway a year ago, which kept this points race championship tight last season. But so far this year, Hornaday's been a dominant factor, and when he's in this truck, you got to believe he's going to win. Adam?
And Ray, Mike Skinner in the same truck he was last week when he dominated at Iowa, leading some 180 of 200 laps. And check out these numbers. With those laps out front last week, he now puts himself in some pretty good category. Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague, and Mike Skinner, the only drivers in Truck Series history to lead more than 6,000 laps. That's impressive. Skinner is starting 9th today, hopes to pad that number. Rick?
Thank you, Adam and Ray. We'll be checking in with you all race long to find out the stories from pit road. The field coming out of turn number 4. Who's going to lead the first lap at Gateway International Raceway? Could it be Colin Brown? Could it be Ron Hornaday? Green flag in the air. We're underway.
Great start for Colin Brown. Ron Hornaday's reputation precedes him. He's looking to the outside, but Colin's on the throttle on the bottom.
Fanning out as they go down the backstretch, coming out of 2. Single file line up front. Now Hornaday looks down below.
He was way below. Looked like he had his left sides below the rumble strip, trying to get to the inside.
Doesn't look like he's going to lead the first lap, but he's all over the back bumper of Colin Brown. Colin Brown leads lap number 1. Johnny Sauter right behind Hornaday. Brian Scott, T.J. Bell are your top 5.
Looks like Ron Hornaday's able to definitely hook that bottom of this racetrack, which is going to make a big difference, especially in the long run. As you see, he gets alongside of Colin Brown here. Looks like Brown's going to lead lap number 2.
Colin slipped up a little bit down in 1 and 2. That opened the door on the bottom for Hornaday. He drives it down in 3.
Hornaday makes the pass. He takes the point. Now Colin Brown drops back to 2nd. Johnny Sauter is 3rd. Brian Scott trying to hold on to 4th as Hornaday will get 5 more bonus points, leading lap number 2.
Good battle for 5th brewing between Brian Scott, Timothy Peters. Timothy jumps to the inside. That's actually a battle for the 4th position and gets loose.
T.J. Bell in that 11.
Looked like, did Brian Scott get into the wall coming off for 2?
A little close call there for Brian Scott, potentially hitting the wall. And how about Matt Crafton making the pass on the bottom of the track?
Matt was able to take advantage of the 11 and the 16 almost getting together and getting tight there. They both had to lift. They couldn't come off turn 2 as strong as they needed and give Matt an opportunity to get by.
We talked about how big of a deal it is that Matt Crafton and Mike Skinner have got to make something happen. And it looks like right now Matt Crafton's trying to make it happen early in this race.
He really is. Take a look at this now. This is T.J. Bell on the inside of Brian Scott. You see him. He runs over the curb. He gets loose, almost makes contact with Brian Scott. Keep watching. Brian does make just a slight bit of contact with the outside wall, exiting 2.
Just kisses that wall as they went down the backstretch. Now Brian Scott on the outside of the 5 of Mike Skinner, trying to keep the momentum up. Skinner with the preferred line. Looks like he'll get past the 16.
Skinner takes his PC Myler Navigation Toyota, gains another spot. Remember, he qualified a little farther back than we thought he was going to.
He was so good in practice yesterday. We thought that he would be a for sure lock for the pole, and then qualified 9th for this race. So a little bit shocking there, but he's beginning to move toward the front of the field.
There's Stacy Compton following Brian Scott. Stacy's in the 8th position right now. Had a very, very good truck in final practice. I talked to Stacy in the garage area right before the race, and he said, I'm not going to say we had a great truck last night because I said that at Iowa and it didn't work out that way. So I'm not going to say anything, but he gains another spot right here, or attempting to, on Brian Scott.
Yeah, Brian Scott looks like he's struggling just a little bit in the middle. He's charging the corner pretty hard, especially in 3 and 4. Then he's not able to
got in the wall
again,
Johnny, up off the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Gets in the wall again. Not too bad. That's not going to hurt him, but he's definitely going to want to, kind of keep that down to a minimum.
I would hope so. We see the 30 of Todd Bodine trying to make the pass now as he looks to the inside.
That shows you how critical coming off turn 2 is. If you don't get off that corner, the guy sitting there 2 or 3 trucks behind you is going to get a run and go on by both of you.
That was a situation when Brian got into the outside wall. It hurt both his momentum and Stacy Compton's. Todd took advantage of that, gained a couple spots.
Seemed like problems early on for that 16.
Watch, here's Brian Scott. Remember, this is the second time he gets up against the wall. Stacy Compton not able to use all the throttle because Brian's out there, and that opened the door for Todd to move by on the inside, make a 3-wide pass.
And also, we say this is a short track, which that looks like short track racing down there, but where we get the speedway stuff is an opportunity to use a little aero and drafting, and then when those 2 guys get side by side, you use that to your advantage.
15th and 16th side by side. It's Jason White in the 23 on the outside. First caution of the day comes out. NASCAR telling us debris on the racetrack. And you may wonder how you can get debris early on in a race. Well, ask Brian Scott. He's hit the wall a couple times already, and those are the ones that we've seen. So debris on the racetrack slows the field for the first time. Ron Hornaday out in front once again. He has led all but 1 lap of this race. We'll be right back. Great crowd on hand here in the St. Louis area. Let's head back onto pit road. Adam Alexander.
And let's talk a little bit about Todd Bodine. He has complained the truck is a little bit tight in the early portion, a little bit loose in, and that's creating a little bit of a tight condition in the center of the corner for Todd Bodine. But, this is a team that desperately needs a good run. They have had 1 top 10 finish in the last 6 races. That's hard to believe for a guy who won here a couple of years ago. They brought the same truck this weekend they had last week, and I think their confidence level a little higher than what it was a week ago, Ray.
And Adam, down on my end, talking about Brian Scott. In practice, they were in a coil bind situation on the right front, and it just wasn't working out for them. All the adjustments that they would make to this truck just didn't seem to respond, so they went to a conventional setup, and they believe that's going to be very good for long runs in today's race, because a lot of drivers here yesterday had very hot right front bead temperatures, and they believe this conventional setup may be an advantage for those guys. So we'll see how, if we do get a long green flag run today here at St. Louis. Brian Scott saying his truck's pretty neutral through the center.
Well, Ray, we don't want to give you a break. It's time to take a closer look into the camping experience with Camping World's Destination Recreation.
It's Camping World's Destination Recreation.
Whether you're tailgating at your favorite racetrack, ball game, or camping 1,000 miles from anywhere, you're probably going to want to cook something. And here at Camping World, they've got every size grill you could possibly want. I like this one a lot. If you just want to cook a few things, how about the Weber BBQ? This grill has a porcelain enameled top, and it's easy for cleanup. And of course, it's super heavy duty. It's from Weber. I like this one too. It's called the Grill to Go. It's from Thermos. It's got a light on here for cooking at night. And check this out. Folds out just that easy, and you're ready to cook. I also like this one a lot. This is the Classic from Coleman. Now this has 20,000 BTUs, and I love it because there's a breakfast griddle and a regular cooktop. And check it out, they pull up just that easy for a real good cleanup. Now one of the things that's cool about this is you lock the lid, you pick it up, and you can take it to your nearest picnic table or wherever you want to be cooking. But whatever you do, whichever grill you pick, make sure you get some extra propane tanks, because there's nothing worse than a half-cooked hamburger.
I'm a little hungry now after that, actually.
It's illegal to half-cook a hamburger, too.
Is there police for that?
I think so.
Well, those are some of the prizes, or maybe all of the prizes, that you have available if you go to campingworld.com this week /racing. Speaking of racing, field coming out of turn number 4, and we're waiting for the green flag. It flies in the air. Hornaday leading Colin Brown.
Brian Scott ducks to the inside of Stacy Compton. Going to try to drive it up. Next, ooh, they may make a little contact here. Well, there was barely enough room for a nose of that truck. Oh, sideways.
Sliding into the grass. That's Timothy Peters. It looked like some contact had to have been made there. And Timothy Peters slides into the infield grass. Caution once again.
Keeps it out of the wall, though. That was critical.
Doesn't look like too much damage. Maybe a little bit to the left front.
Yeah, that damage there is not going to hurt anything as long as everything else is straight. You see the splitters in really, really good shape. He's going to be fine, but it looked like somebody got slowed up there, and of course, the further back you get, the worse it gets.
It's one of those chain reaction deals. Exactly.
We've heard that numerous times, and so this time it's Timothy Peters that is the one who has to get turned around. Take a closer look.
He slides up the racetrack right in front of Rick Crawford. Ooh, Terry Cook does a great job avoiding Timothy as he slides across the racetrack, but it was one of those deals. He came up the racetrack and Rick had already had a little bit of momentum.
And also that part of the track, he come up so fast that he had a problem, and it looked like he had to almost lift to just try to stay off the wall there just from the momentum. When he got off the gas there, it looked like Rick just got in the back of him.
Great job by Timothy Peters catching that race truck. Didn't get into either the infield wall or the outside wall, so not a lot of damage to the 17. I'm sure he'll bring that onto pit road, have his crew take a look at it.
That's a good view. Boy, Terry Cook had already committed to the inside, and then all of a sudden, bam, Timothy's sideways in front of him, had to turn back hard right.
So Timothy Peters goes for a spin inside of Gateway International Raceway. That brings our second caution of the day out. We'll be back for the green flag of the Copart 200.
Welcome back to the Copart 200. On my end of pit road, Timothy Peters brought his Strutmaster's truck down. They put 4 tires on, made an adjustment on the right rear shock, and added fuel, so he'll be in a different sequence. Adam?
Matt Crafton was running in the top 5, Ray, but his splitter was hitting the racetrack. They brought him in, raised up the front end, fueled the truck. He goes from a spot in the top 5 to outside the top 25 for the restart at lap 16.
Again, Matt Crafton 225 points behind race leader Ron Hornaday as he comes to the start-finish line. We're back to racing.
Stacy Compton pulled out of line for just a moment. Knew he couldn't make the pass on Todd Bodine. You cannot initiate a pass before you get to the start-finish line. He backed off, and that allows Brian Scott to get up on the outside of him. Rick Crawford and Terry Cook, look, they came awfully close up off of 2.
So tight as they come off of 2, turn 2 and down that backstretch. Todd Bodine on the inside now.
It's TJ Bell, the 11 on the outside.
They stay side by side as they come onto the front stretch.
It's a battle for the 5th position right there.
TJ Bell just in front of Todd Bodine when they cross the stripe.
TJ drives it hard down into turn number 1. Todd gets his truck turned in the center, jumps in the throttle. From Stacy Compton to make it 3 wide.
3 wide racing at Gateway International Raceway. Something's going to have to give before they get into turn 3.
Well, you're going to have to tell them that.
Oh, my goodness.
Looks like they all knew about it, but to run 3 wide here and make it all the way off this corner, it's going to get a lot tighter when they get down to turn 1. Somebody's going to have to get out of the middle of this.
That's some incredible racing right there. Rick, don't make it 4 wide, please.
That is impressive right there. And now TJ Bell trying to pinch down that.
Todd gets sideways.
Todd Bodine holds on to it, almost goes around.
As Johnny said, it worked fine through 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 is a different story.
Brian Scott able to capitalize on that little slide. He tries to get by the 30 now.
I think Todd Bodine thought T.J. Bell was going to back out of that, and then all of a sudden a little air off the side got him loose. He did a great job saving that truck and not causing anybody any problems.
David Starr, we ride along with him. That's a backup truck. Remember, he had problems in practice yesterday.
Right about here, you listen to him back off. He did that yesterday in practice, and nothing happened. That throttle stayed wide open.
Went straight into that wall in turn number 1.
Good battle with Rick Crawford, the Pro Star number 14 Ford.
Todd Bodine, Brian Scott remain door to door. Now Brian Scott edges in front as they go through 3 and 4.
Just able to stay in the throttle a little bit longer when you're on the outside there going in the corners. Sometimes you pay for it, though, and Brian did. Todd was able to get back in the throttle quicker. Ooh, a little bit of contact getting down in 1.
Todd way high on the racetrack. That pushes Brian Scott almost out of the groove. He tries to hang on, but Rick Crawford takes the spot from him.
He was out of the groove, absolutely, and that's what slowed Brian down there.
It did. I mean, anytime that you lean on somebody's right rear quarter panel like that, you got to expect that they can't do a very good job getting in through the center of the corner. Ended up putting him out of the groove and losing a spot there.
It's just going to make that truck loose getting down in the corner, and you can go down, and the driver can feel that. He just physically can't turn the steering wheel because he knows if he does, that back end's going around.
Trucks falling in line now as they work their way around this 1.25-mile racetrack.
To the 88 of Matt Crafton, he made a pit stop, couple pit stops actually. He's already back up to the 15th position.
You know, I think as we talked earlier, these are the tracks from now on that he's got to make something happen. I think they felt that. They started to race. We're hitting the ground, hitting the splitter. He's going, you know what? Nothing's going to happen here. We got to come in, make some adjustments, and see if we can't get it better. You got Ron Hornaday leading this race and walking away and gaining points. He needs to get his truck better to go up and compete with that.
And the nice thing is, Johnny, it's early. Obviously, he's already worked his way into the top 15. He's 14th right now, and we're only 22 laps into this race, so it was not a killer for him.
Remember, this is a 160-lap race. Ron Hornaday has led all but 1 lap up to this point, and he has still got a sizable lead over Colin Brown. Adam Alexander.
Let's talk a little bit about the leader, Ron Hornaday, who has been very quiet on the radio. That can't be good for the competition based on what he has done the last 2 races here at Gateway. A win, a second, and more than 200 laps led, and he's got some great leadership atop the spotter stand today. Rick Corelli, who's the general manager at Kevin Harvick Incorporated, won the first ever truck race here more than 10 years ago. That is some good eyes above you on the speedway. And then right behind him, Colin Brown. No surprise, he is running good. Back-to-back third-place finishes for driver 6, and they've got the same truck today they ran last week at Iowa. The crew came in and worked all day Monday to make sure he was ready to bring here. The results certainly worth the time put in. Right behind him, another driver experiencing a great deal of momentum. I'm talking about Johnny Sauter in that 13. Joe Shear came over to crew chief the truck at Chicago 2 weeks ago. Back-to-back top 5s. He is tight today. Ray?
You know, Adam, after I saw qualifying, I was a little bit worried about Mike Skinner, but he said, don't you sweat it. We've got that same truck that we used at Iowa. The guys did an incredible job to take this back to the shop and put an entire different paint job on the truck and bring it back fresh and ready to go. Skinner has moved up through the field. And right behind him, I want to talk about Stacy Compton. They're driving a truck this weekend that doesn't get a lot of races throughout the course of the season. But Stacy Compton said they have had such bad luck this season. This team at Weiler has got to try something to get a little bit of momentum going in their direction. Guys?
Yeah, right. Stacy Compton again running in the top 5. A few trucks have already exited the racetrack. Nick Tucker, Butch Miller, Mario Goslin, Wayne Edwards, Mike Garvey, Lance Hooper, and John Jackson are off the racing surface. The field chasing Ron Hornaday Jr. once again. A familiar sight. The 33 out in front. Colin Brown trying to stay within 7 truck lengths of Hornaday. Can Hornaday win again? Well, we're not so sure. Colin Brown would like to get back into victory lane. Can it be here at Gateway International Raceway? Well, we're about to find out. up next.
I'll bet you the guys and the girls will talk to all 11 chase contenders for those 8 spots.
It's going to be tight, obviously. Everyone fighting to get into the chase to have a chance at the championship in the Cup Series. We've got a championship run here being put together by Ron Hornaday. Again, coming into this race, 225-point lead. The only guy that's staying really on the screen with him is the 6 of Colin Brown.
You know, the lap before this, Ron Hornaday with 33 laps in the books, it only ran a 1/10.5 of a second slower than his fastest lap he's run, and Colin Brown's fast lap was even closer to his fastest lap. These tires aren't giving up at all, Johnny.
No, I mean, that's a great thing for Goodyear to bring a great tire like that, especially with the heat that we have here today. That's good as a race car driver, if you're sitting in that truck knowing that, you know what, I can still drive this thing hard and not hurt the tires too bad.
Adam Alexander.
Johnny and Phil talking about tires, Rick, and it was interesting, a conversation I had before this race with Todd Bodine's crew chief Mike Hillman Jr. We were discussing tires and how do you manage tires, because most teams have 3 sets in their pit area to use should they need them. And he said, I predict everyone will have 1 set still on the ground when this race is over. And he also said we could see some pit strategy involving tires because track position is so important. Too early in the race to know how that will pay out, but already one crew chief thinking about the possibility of playing some games late in the race, Ray.
And Adam, down on my end, a number of teams have already changed tires on their pit stop. Include on that list Taylor Malsom in the number 81. He just said his truck will not turn through 3 and 4. They raised the track bar a couple of rounds to try to help loosen him up a little bit, and they changed tires on the lap 14 pit stop. He also came back down pit road last time for another wedge adjustment. So Doug Woolcott trying to make some aggressive moves here to get Taylor better through the center of 3 and 4.
Taylor Malsom running 21st right now, so he'll have to obviously take advantage of that strategy that they're playing on pit road.
Good battle right here for 9th. That's David Starr's Toyota on board. There's Brian Scott, the Albertsons Toyota. About a lap ago, these guys had a bit of a moment when some possible contact with them. Let's see if we can take a look back at what happened. Brian Scott had the position. Watch right of your screen. David drove up onto him. Boy, if he didn't get into him, he worried him to death there and got him a little bit loose up off the corner.
Yeah, it looked like David is definitely trying to stay off him and then just got loose himself. And looks like they probably did touch just a little bit. David trying to stay off him. And like I say, a little sideways coming off turn 4.
Yeah, watch this from the onboard now. You see Brian's truck dancing a little bit. I'm not sure they made any contact, but it was oh so close.
Looked like they're both just sliding around trying to miss each other.
And that's one thing on a flat corner like we had down there in 3 and 4. These trucks really dance, trying to get the power down. You see David now pulls up beside Brian Scott. He was able to make that pass and take over the 9th position.
Brian Scott has been struggling. He's kissed the wall a couple times coming out of turn number 2. Matt Crafton, we saw them put the hood up, make some major adjustments to the front end of that race truck, trying to keep the splitter off of the racetrack. And they look like obviously they're doing a good job now because it's riding about an inch off the racetrack.
Caution's on the racetrack.
3rd caution of the day. Kim Lopez working hard today on the flag stand. And it's the 57 that has got turned around. Norm Benning. They're slow on the access road.
Yeah, that's the access road off the racing surface that the guys can use to make a pit stop.
And since he's come to a stop, that means that NASCAR had to throw the yellow flag just in case someone was going to come onto pit road.
We're
truck would stop.
We're over halfway into a fuel run here, so I think we're going to see some guys, all the guys basically come on pit road, maybe with the exception of some of we had 3 or 4 trucks that pitted back on lap number 15. They would have an opportunity maybe to stay out, but I think the majority of the field's going to come in.
Guys like Taylor Malsom, who came in, did a couple adjustments to that truck. The Longhorn guys are stretching out. They're getting ready. They would expect to see Ron Hornaday bring that leading truck onto pit road next. Our next 2 races on speed. We head up to New England, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. September 19th, that's a 2:30 p.m. start. And then to Sin City, Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the 26th. That's a full Saturday.
you know, guys, for those of the folks that can't make it out to Las Vegas for that race, certainly set your DVR for our Camping World Truck Series race, but head over to Darlington Raceway, the Darlington Historic Racing Festival, Saturday and Sunday of that weekend, September 26th and 27th. Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, and Humpy Wheeler are all going to be there. They're going to have vintage race cars, autograph sessions, fan forums, all sorts of neat stuff at Darlington there. So if you're in the area, you don't want to miss that.
The Lady in Black hosting that. We saw the light change from red to green. That means that pit road is open. Hornaday brings the field onto pit road. Let's go down there to Ray.
Well, Rick, on my end, they're going to be trying to do a double dip here for sure. You'll see guys getting tires and fuel. And Mike Skinner said, let's go with tires first. Eric Phillips said he agrees with that. So tires will go on this number 5 truck. They'll come back around for fuel. No adjustments on the PC Myler Toyota. Now, when we take a look at our triple pits, you'll see that we're going to have Stacy Compton in there. And from my end of pit road, he said he needs to be a little bit tighter on his entry. Look for an air pressure adjustment on the Weiler Racing truck. Adam?
Ron Hornaday coming in top of your screen. He is the race leader. They have told him on the radio you were quicker through the center and off than Colin Brown. He's better than you in. A slight air pressure adjustment on the first stop of the day for Hornaday coming in lap 41. Middle of your screen, the guy chasing him, Colin Brown, is tight. They will make an adjustment, 4 tires this time, and they will come back for fuel. The race off pit road. It looks like it will be Hornaday who beats everybody leaving the pit lane.
Not going to beat Colin Brown, though. He took advantage of that first pit stall to beat Ron Hornaday out. But remember, all these guys are going to come back in and make another pit stop for fuel. Timothy Peters up 12 positions. Obviously, a little strategy there. Remember, Timothy put tires on after he spun on that earlier caution flag.
Well, Timothy's going to end up pretty good here because I don't foresee him coming back in. He probably got his fuel, made all those spots, had his tires in from earlier. And if he took care of them, right now he's going to be staying out, sitting in pretty good shape.
There may have been some contact made just there between Hornaday and Colin Brown as they came on to pit road. Let's go back down there to Ray Dunlap.
Well, fuel this time, Rick, for everybody down here, and there will be a few chassis adjustments along the way, too. As these guys come around the corner, you see Colin Brown out ahead of Hornaday, and now the pressure is on to get the gas in just as quickly as you can and only what you need. Skinner's guys will go to work on pumping fuel in, and he's going to have a tight group of people backed up down here when we get into the accordion effect. Looking back in our triple pit, you see gasoline going in for the 60, and a very tight pit road down here. Lots of guys getting jammed up. Adam?
And that's where things really paid off on that first time around for Colin Brown. As Phil and Johnny pointed out, he was quickest off pit lane because he had that number 1 pit stall. You can see Hornaday getting fuel top of your screen, Brown in the middle. And as they leave pit road here, it once again will be Colin Brown the first off. And keep in mind at this stage of the race, they can do it on one more stop as far as fuel mileage is concerned.
Boy, a bunch of contact back there. The 07 of Jason Young. He may have got hit by 2 different trucks trying to get to his pit.
He's trying to turn left. Everybody else is trying to go right and get off of pit road. Take a look.
Here's Mike Skinner getting ready to leave. There's Jason Young, the 07. They get seized up. Taylor Malson has to wait for Todd Cleaver.
That was a costly deal there. I mean, it's one thing if you get slowed up. It's another thing if you have to stop.
Aaron's lucky dog going to Dexter Bean in the number 73. Michael Waltrip, I'm sure, is just jumping up and down, excited about this.
He'll be thrilled that we're giving away lucky dogs.
The fans are thrilled. We've got some great racing here on this racetrack. Alexander.
About a little bit on the 51 of Eric Almirola. They used a 2-tire stop late in the race last week to help him to his career best finish second at Iowa. 2 tires here called by Richie Waters. They were in the top 10 for the first time today, and this team really needed something good to happen because they struggled during practice yesterday, but an adjustment to the truck, they feel like it is starting to come around.
Eric Almirola in that 51 this week. Again, Billy Ballou trying to close the gap between he and Kevin Harvick Racing as far as owners championship points.
Remember, we just talked about these tires not falling off, so I think could be a very good call.
Green flag back in the air. Timothy Peters again staying on the racetrack for the second stops. And he leads the field across the start-finish line.
Ryan Sieg, the 39, is another one of the trucks that stayed out, or actually only made 1 pit stop instead of the 2.
Sometimes spinning out and making an early pit stop can make an advantage for you and take advantage of it. Timothy Peters was able to take advantage of that. As you see, Colin Brown now getting inside of Ryan Sieg and moving forward. We saw Ron Hornaday give a little bump down there in minute 1 and 2 like he did maybe coming into the pits.
Ron Hornaday said, "Oh, I know you may have beat me out of the pits, but just remember, I'm here."
Timothy Peter taking advantage of the pit road rules in the Camping World Truck Series.
Hornaday's thinking about making it 3 wide here. Does give Colin Brown room to get in, but now he's going to dive up on the inside.
Here comes Hornaday once again, looking to the inside of that 6 of Colin Brown. Contact made between the two of them. I don't think it's over.
At least they settle down a little bit down at the middle of the straightaway.
That's one thing a driver would do. He'll look like he's going to go down underneath it, going into that corner.
Ooh, there's a little payback. Yep. I remember you hitting me. Paying back again. Todd said, I'm not having any of this. I want to pass you both.
Todd Bodine goes by. Here comes Matt Crampton looking to the inside of that 6 as well.
Todd got in the corner real hard. He's going to have to chase it up the hill. He does get in front of Hornaday.
This is the opportunity that Matt Crampton's been waiting for. Have somebody have a grudge against Hornaday and move him out of the way.
Well, I like the fact that Colin Brown said to Ron Hornaday, hey, I know you hit me, but hey, I can play that game too. I'm going to hit you back. And then Hornaday hit him back again, and here we are.
And here we are. Adam?
At the opening portion of this race, when Colin Brown started on the inside of row 1 and it was Hornaday on the outside of the front row, Colin Brown got a good jump at the start of the race, and immediately on the radio, Hornaday came on and said, that little... So he's been brewing a little bit as this day has gone on. The veteran wants respect, and the young guy's trying to earn it the hard way, I guess.
Well, this may not be over. Right now, they're separated by a couple of trucks. As right now, Colin Brown has to deal with Matt Crafton, who has made a nice recovery from his early pit stop.
Yeah, we don't want to discount also Ryan Sieg running second in this race right now behind Timothy Peters. Again, those two didn't come onto pit road 2 times like most of the rest of the field did. Todd Bodine runs 3rd, Hornaday 4th, and 5th is Colin Brown now.
And Ryan staying right up in there. Remember, you talked about this was his best career start here, starting 13th, Johnny.
Yeah, it looks like he's, so far running a great race. Took advantage of the tires being so good, knowing that, you know what, it doesn't matter if we end up with a set in the pits or maybe even a set and a half. So let's just use and take it to our advantage. Tires are great. Running good. He may lose a couple spots here, but these are great trucks he's racing with right now.
Yeah, he's going to say he's got some pretty good competition running beside him. Adam Alexander.
Johnny Sauter having to work his way through traffic. That's not good news for the driver that was 3rd when the caution came out and he pitted a moment ago. The reason for the poor pit stop, the truck fell off the jack. The report from the team, the jack is broken, so they're dealing with issues in the 13 camp. Tough break for them, and similar situation for TJ Bell behind him. He's having a problem with the clutch. The crew had to push him to get him going after the pit stop. That's why he has gone from a position in the top 10 to running 17th, Ray.
And you see a good battle on the racetrack between Mike Skinner and Stacy Compton. Skinner trying to get to the inside line, and Skinner playing a little bit of a cheerleader down here on this end of pit road. He's in the very first pit stall coming off of the racetrack, and because of that accordion effect I was talking about, he got jammed up there. But he got on the radio and told his crew, do not worry about it, guys. You did your job on this end. It's just a circumstance of the racetrack. Keep giving me really good pit stops, and I'll get us back to the front. Adam?
When I talked to Mike Hillman Jr. before this race, the crew chief for Todd Bodine, he seemed very determined, quietly confident. They were tight through the center in that first run. Things not going as they would like, but Hillman, aggressive, making an adjustment on that first stop of the day. Bodine now has put himself in front of Hornaday, new leader at Gateway.
That's right. Todd Bodine was able to get by Timothy Peters, and guess who came with him? That 33 of Ron Hornaday. Let's give you another shot of how that took place.
Yeah, let's take a look. Timothy Peters, remember now some pit strategy. He stays out. Todd gets a good run down the back stretch, pulls to the inside. Going to race Timothy down in the corner. Actually clears him before they get to turn 3. That he leaves Timothy up the racetrack a little bit. That allows Hornaday to get by on the inside as well.
That looked like just an opportunity there where the 17 didn't come off turn 2 as good as he needed to. Todd had a great run, of course, opened the door up around Hornaday also.
Hornaday so strong, looking to get to victory lane for the 7th time this season. Has already been to victory lane 6 times earlier, 5 in a row. Actually setting a new record in the Camping World Truck Series earlier this season, and now he's all over the back bumper. That 30 of Todd Bodine.
He is really, really good through the center of the corner. He really gained some ground through the center. Remember, Todd is no slouch at this racetrack. The worst he's ever finished here in 4 starts is 7th.
And he made that pass look easy as he goes by the 30 of Todd Bodine. So Hornaday back up in front. He will add to the laps he has already led.
You know, a lot of the crew chiefs in the garage area were really wondering as you see Colin Brown make the pass on Timothy Peters for the 3rd position. Normally, these guys get 4 sets of tires for the weekend. Here at Gateway, for whatever reason, they got 5 sets of tires. So I was talking to Mike Bean, and he said, hey, in addition to the set that we qualified on and starting the race, and we have 3 full sets of tires in the pits, which is pretty rare for the Camping World Truck Series. So tires shouldn't be a problem for these guys having enough.
We don't think tires will be an issue, but will there be enough time on the racetrack for that 88 to catch the 33? Matt Crafton currently 2nd in the points. Ron Hornaday currently 1st on the track and in the points. Does anybody have anything for Hornaday? Home to Budweiser, St. Louis, Missouri. We're at the Gateway. And out in front, it is Ron Hornaday continuing to lead. He's led 47. 61 laps that we have run. And that's just a ho-hum day for Hornaday, but a difficult situation for David Starr as he's on pit road once again. Again, that's a backup truck.
Maybe an ignition problem. It looks like they're looking around that area. David had a pretty good truck going. He was running in the top 10 when he made this unscheduled pit stop.
Looks like you can see one of the wires hanging up over the steering wheel going down to the
kill
ground.
switch or something like that, Johnny?
We've had that. I mean, sometimes that kill switch goes bad on the steering wheel and it doesn't work. You can see the cord laying off the steering wheel there, meaning that they're trying to replace that or putting in a loop to bypass that on the steering wheel.
So a little frustration there out of David Starr. Obviously, you had mentioned a pretty good run for him, but then when things like this happen.
Yeah, David's going to be shown 2 laps down when he gets back to the racetrack. And he really has to, right now, Ron Hornaday's at the start finish line. David's still on the access road, so more than likely David's going to be 3 laps down or very close to 3 laps down when he re-enters the racetrack.
That's kind of a tough deal. You know you're running with the points, in the points. He's right there, near the top 5, and then to have a day like that when that's hard to see that coming. You don't know when that's coming. It's either a fail or a not fail. It's not like you see it wearing and seeing a problem coming ahead of time.
And we see David Starr on stage at year end pretty much every year. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a change this year because the Camping World Truck Series and the Nationwide Series are coming together for their banquets, which means you're going to have the top 5 from each series. So it's a little harder to get up on stage this year. And right now, David Starr outside of that top 5, currently 7th in the point standings. 39 of Ryan Sieg. We talked about him running well today. Adam Alexander, is that run continuing?
It is. He's not said very much about the truck, and they have utilized good pit strategy to put themselves in the top 10. In fact, after that last cycle of pit stops, they restarted in the 2nd position, and this is not surprising. We've seen Ryan run a handful of races in that 39. He's been very competitive, and perhaps he stole some knowledge from his brother, who was just outside the top 10 here at this race 1 year ago. Ryan looked solid, running 9th, 65 laps in.
65 laps into the race, and already Hornaday has led 51 of those 65 laps. So trying to put another dominant performance together.
Guys, take a look at this 13 truck of Johnny Soto. Remember, we reported that he had trouble on pit road. This was a guy that was running in the top 5 before pit stop started. He restarted in the 20th. He's made a little bit of progress up to 13th, but it seems like he stalled there. As good as his truck is, Johnny, he can't do anything with these guys because it's pretty difficult to pass here, even though he's got a great truck.
He's got a great truck, and it is very difficult to pass here. And when you get stuck back there, you hear a lot of guys complaining about the aero thing and things of this nature. But sometimes it does play into that, and if you can't hit your line just perfect, you don't seem to make gain on a guy in front of you, and that's very difficult. And this is one of the tracks that it just amplifies that scenario.
In between 2 of our Rookie of the Year contenders, we see this battle going on, Brian Scott and TJ Bell.
Looks like Brian's going to be able to make the pass. There's Taylor Malsom right behind TJ Bell, the 81 truck. He's made numerous pit stops. He was one of the trucks that came in early on lap number 9 and lap number 10, and then again back on lap number 15 with our first and second cautions.
Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, you were talking about the Nationwide Series. I want to kind of make a segue there when we talk about Brian Scott. He's having a little bit of trouble so far here today, but I reported last week on the Speed Report that he has an offer to run an entire full schedule next year in the Nationwide Series. Brian has not made a final decision on whether that's the best course of action yet or whether he'll return to the Camping World Truck Series next year. There's still a few weeks for him to make those decisions and see exactly what direction the 16 team will take for 2010. But I can tell you when we come back to Gateway International Raceway next year, it will be a combo weekend. You'll see the Nationwide Series and the Camping World Trucks back-to-back on a Friday and Saturday, the second weekend of July.
Brian Scott again had been running in the top 10, now dropped all the way back to the 14th spot.
Remember, we reported that typically these guys run a qualifying setup, which means you go and squash that spring, whether it's the right front or the left front, as much as you can. Brian Scott's team was struggling. They went to a conventional setup, which means you don't squash any of those springs. And obviously right now he's running the 14th spot. Probably not what they were looking for. They really thought they were going to be a little bit better than that.
Can anyone be as good as the 33 team? Ron Hornaday with a 1.7 second lead over second place Todd Bodine. Can Todd Bodine get back to victory lane in 2009? Stay with us. Copart 200 continues from Gateway International Raceway in Madison, Illinois, just across the border from St. Louis, Missouri. Ron Hornaday running extremely well once again.
Huge surprise.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
just huge.
We could replay that over and over as Hornaday has put together an amazing season up to this point. He still has 7.5 races to go. We don't want to hand him the crown, but at the same time, he's really showing us an impressive performance at every racetrack we go to.
Well, that two-second lead's going away, Rick.
2-second lead just went away. The caution comes out for the 4th time. Debris on the racetrack. Todd Bodine was running second. Colin Brown, Mike Skinner, Matt Crafton, your top 5. Rick Crawford, Eric Almirola, Timothy Peters, Stacy Compton, and Ryan Sieg are your top 10 as this caution has come out, and we're closing in on the halfway point of this race. Will we see anyone come on pit road?
Johnny, I think we will. We're over, they pitted back on lap number 41, 42, so that means we're over halfway into a fuel run. They may not come in and get tires and fuel, but I think they're going to at least make one stop for fuel, if not both.
Well, I think you're going to see them get both, because if later in the race they need that little extra fuel, they come in here and just stab it and go and not have to worry about the tire wear. The tire wear looks pretty good. The speeds have been still actually surprisingly quick. So I think they will take their tires. They'll get their fuel, and then later in the race they need just a splash. They don't have to worry about the tires at all.
We'll answer those questions. You see the field on the access road. It's Ron Hornaday that leads Todd Bodine. Let's go to the pit road and Ray Dunlap.
Well, Skinner's just a little bit tight on the long run there. Eric Phillips, making an air pressure adjustment on the right front tire. He pulls in his number 5. The guys will go to work down here. And again, we'll keep an eye and see if he runs into the accordion effect at the end of pit road. Adam?
Tough decision here for crew chiefs, Ray, because they are not yet in their window to be able to go the distance from here. Rick Wren said, this is not a decision I want to make. He's the crew chief for Ron Hornaday, making his pit stop top of your screen. They will put on 4 tires, and then they will come back and fuel the truck. He was a little bit tight. Middle of your screen, Todd Bodine running second. Extremely tight on that run. They will take another big knock at it and see if they can help the handle. And then we will see who wins the battle off of pit road. Colin Brown made up ground last time, and this time Ron Hornaday will come out second, it looks like, to Stacy Compton.
Stacy Compton, 8 spots. That could be just a fuel-only stop for Compton, or maybe just 2 right-side tires.
Maybe 2 right-side tires. And the accordion effect that Ray was talking about, that we saw that last round of pit stops. This time, Ray, is when we're going to see that accordioning effect when Skinner comes in just for a splash of gas, maybe 1 can or just a little bit more, and the back of the field hasn't got to pit road yet. This is when we're going to have some close action on pit road.
Pit strategy taking place once again. We see Stacy Compton again. He won the race off of pit road the first time, so he leads the field back onto pit road, just in front of that 33 of Ron Hornaday and the 30 of Todd Bodine. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Skinner had raced his way back up through traffic, but they lost 4 or 5 positions here in the pits. Had a problem getting the jack up on the left side, so he had been in the top 5. He'll be back, I guess, only 4 spots further than that. This time it'll be a quick shot of fuel for the number 5 on my end. We look into the triple pits, and we'll get the rest of the call from Adam.
Ron Hornaday pitting top of your screen. They will make a chassis adjustment because he is tight. Todd Bodine also coming down the pit lane will make his stop. And it looks like they've called off the chassis adjustment for Hornaday. Fuel going to go in for Todd Bodine. The question came on the radio, can we go from here? Mike Hillman Jr. said it's all going to depend on caution laps. Once again, Stacy Compton first off of pit road, and a 3-wide battle to see who got out second. Give it to Hornaday.
Very close race off of pit road. It goes Compton, Hornaday, Bodine, Colin Brown, and Matt Crafton. They'll be your top 5 when we restart from Gateway International Raceway. Ron Hornaday's been dominant on the racetrack. Could it be pit strategy that wins today's race? Let your favorite driver take you to victory lane with the Wind Tunnel Super 7 Sweep Fantasy Game. To play, just pick 7 racers every week, score the most points, and win great prizes. For more details and to play the Wind Tunnel Super 7 Sweep Fantasy Game, go to Wind Tunnel page on speedtv.com today.
Excellent. Excellent.
We're about to come back to green flag racing. Again, out front, it's Stacy Compton winning the battle off of pit road. Halfway is being shown to the drivers. Problems on the front stretch. The smoke all across the front stretch, and that bottles up a couple different trucks.
James Busher, TJ Bell, Todd Cleaver was involved in the 8 truck. He's against the inside wall, as you can see. One of those chain reaction things we see so many times.
James Busher, his truck not rolling on the front stretch as we see the 8
look at Brian Eichler, also a tremendous amount of damage on that Raceway Toyota.
Difficult situation for at least 4 drivers. We see the 10 still not moving on the racetrack. We see the window net down, though, for James Busher.
That's amazing. Pit road speed is 50 miles an hour, or the caution car truck speed is 50 miles an hour when you're on the racetrack. They hadn't even got to the start-finish line yet, so I can't even imagine. They may have been running 60 to 70 miles an hour, and look at the damage to these trucks.
Yeah, that just goes to show you the safety that these vehicles have built into them when they're going, say, 130 miles an hour. Let's look again.
Looks like it may have started with a Eichler maybe in the 15, may have gotten the back of Busher. It's hard to tell there. It was just they were all just seized up there.
It's so hard to tell there because it's like the 11's being pushed the whole way. Like it almost wasn't under power. I don't know. I'm sure that's not the case, but boy, it looked like somebody had a problem right there, and it definitely messed up a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can see that was the 15 of Brian Eichler, who ran right into the truck in front of him.
But I'm not sure he wasn't pushed. It looked like maybe the 29 also had contact. That contact was initiated way back behind where it eventually got to.
Yeah.
See him going to work on the front of the 15 of Brian Eichler.
They're saying that's terminal. See the slashing motion across the throat.
Yeah, that's just a lot of damage up there, and to put those vehicles out there at a track that we call a short track, or I mean not call a short track, that we feel is a short track. It's very fast here to go out with the extensive amount of damage on a frame right there.
That slashing motion would get you suspended in hockey, Johnny, so just remember that.
Watch what Ricky Carmichael had to see.
Hear him in the throttle. 3rd gear. Now he's pedaling. Locks the brakes up. See, the 15 has already made contact with somebody before Ricky ran into the back of him. There's Todd Cleaver coming down pit road with a good bit of damage.
There's Ricky Carmichael on pit road. Doesn't look like a lot of damage to his race truck. We saw him get right up on the back bumper of that 15.
Well, there's 2 things he's doing. One, he's coming in here to survey the damage on the front of the nose. He had the tires locked up on that thing, and right now, if you're going to have a set that you're going to run to the end, put them on now, because a flat spot will only cause you problems down the road, especially if one of those tires happens to blow on it.
Problems on the restart for a few back in the field. That causes headaches for not only the crew chief here, but the teams back home that have to put them back together. The Copart 200, Gateway International Raceway after this. Welcome back. Copart 200 from Gateway International Raceway, the gateway to the west. We're under our 5th caution of the day. The reason why, a few trucks maybe a little impatient on the restart.
Take a look now. You're going to be about 10 trucks back. I'm not, boy, it's hard to tell. But look, I don't know if the 10 got into the 11 and that caused the 15 to get into the 10. I'm not sure exactly where that was initiated, but man, it sure created a mess.
It's so hard to tell where that started because you didn't see anybody starting to jockey ahead of that. And so it made it very difficult to see what was going on. All of a sudden you see the 11 being, you know, shot off to the side there because the guys in front of them didn't look like they even hardly moved yet.
Just a tough break for T.J. Bell and James Busher, Todd Cleaver.
There's a look at T.J. Bell's number 11.
Brian Eichler.
T.J. outside the truck.
That was a pretty hard hit that he took. I mean, he's going to definitely be out for a little bit because I'm sure it broke a lot of stuff on the left front suspension. He got into the inside wall there pretty hard. So you got your A-frames gone, maybe a little bit of damage to the frame. It's going to take a little time to fix that.
So the safety crew continues to clean up the racetrack right in front of the start-finish line. While they're doing that, we'll slip away one more time and be back for the green flag. Right here on Speed. Ray Dunlap, you've got one of the, I guess, victims of this one.
Yeah, I do, Rick. Down in the garage with T.J. Bell, and there's some serious damage on his number 11 truck. They've got a lot of work to do. And, T.J., we've got a monitor here. If you want to take a look at this, we're going to replay the restart there if you can tell us what you saw happen from your vantage point.
Yeah, no, I mean, coming to the green there's a big mess, and people started checking up. I checked up, and we just got ran into the back there, and there's nothing I could do. You know, these pit stops we have here in the Camping World Truck Series really mix things up, and I don't know. It's just it's an unfortunate day for Red Horse Racing. It's number 11 Toyota Tundra, and Arlen Henderson. We had missing kid on the truck. You know, it's sad we had his family here, but hopefully we'll go loud and get him next week.
All right, we wish you good luck. The guys continue to work on this truck down here to see if they can get him back into the race. Now let's hear from someone else in that. Adams with James Busher.
Yeah, T.J. Bell just in front of James on the restart. He really didn't know what happened. What do you think?
I don't know either. I mean, coming down for the green, we had a pretty good truck, and Max Worth's International team did a great job getting me out of the pits that time. We had lost some spots on our fuel stop, the first pit stop, and actually didn't lose any that time, so I was pretty happy with it. But I don't really know what happened. Everybody was stacking up, and then I was getting pushed from behind. TJ checked up in front of me for the fourth time, and then they were just pushing me so hard from behind I couldn't slow it down. And we all just stacked up and ended our day early.
Tough break for James Busher, and guys, we are back green on the racetrack.
Yeah, clean restart that time. Stacy Compton and Ron Hornaday. Now Hornaday all over the back bumper of Stacy Compton. It looks as though he's going to make the old move to the inside. Move him over and move by him.
Yeah, may have been just a little bit of contact to move him up out of the groove. Todd Bodine is all over the back of Hornaday.
Hornaday and Todd Bodine both came onto pit road, made some major adjustments to their trucks in the same stop. And it looks like Hornaday's is working well once again. We'll see if Bodine will have the same results.
Stacy had a nice run on the top side down in 1 and 2. He was able to get back in the throttle. The thing stuck, and he squirted out ahead of Todd.
He did. You know, I'm not sure if Todd's is quite right. I mean, he looks good right here. Just not able to quite finish that pass there. Very tight racing right there coming off turn 4. Todd looks like he's going to make a run on Stacy Compton right here and get by him, and he's probably going to follow Ron for a while because Ron's been so good.
Very close there between Stacy Compton and Todd Bodine. And you see that 6 of Colin Brown getting into the mix once again. Colin Brown was up front.
Yeah, Matt Crafton's on board. So it looked like Skinner had trouble getting off for turn number 2. Slowed his progress, allows the 16 of Brian Scott to get up beside him.
Brian Scott was running in the 10th spot. We'll see if Skinner
has
problems with the truck, or if it was just a...
Who got a little bit of loose and had to chase it up the hill, and still chasing it. Just lost all his momentum, and you watch the trucks go by.
And at this point in time, too, he's got to get his tires cleaned off before he gets down into 3 and 4. And I'm sure he probably scubbed it a little bit going down the back stretch. 3 and 4 probably got it cleaned off. It's probably going okay right now.
See, Stacy has a little problem getting off turn number 2. That allows Crafton to get underneath him. So if you get some debris on your tires like that, it's absolutely like you're on ice. Until you get those tires cleaned off and you get down into turn number 3, you really don't know if it's going to stick or not.
You're definitely hoping it's going to stick, that's for sure. But the biggest problem that you run when you go up there, you really are conscious to make sure you didn't get a tire puncture, because that obviously will really hurt your problems if you
send you into the wall.
Either into the wall or into the pits, either one.
See the 51 Eric Almirola trying to get by Stacy Compton. Oh, into the wall goes Stacy Compton. He kicks back out, gets into the side of the 51 of Eric Almirola. Let's see if he's able to clear him before they come on to turn 3. It looks like Rick Crawford's going to take advantage of that little mishap.
We've seen more 3-wide passing here this race than I believe we've ever seen here at Gateway.
We've always seen a lot of attempts to get 3 wide before the corner.
More contact.
Almirola got loose up off of 4 in between Stacy Compton and Johnny Sauter.
Sauter goes to the inside to try to get by Eric Almirola.
Johnny Sauter's moved his way back up into the top 10. Remember, he had a problem on the pit stop. Has been really outside the top 15. Worked his way back to about 12th and 13th, but the guys got him back up front. Now he's back up in the top 10, racing for 6th.
And remember, Stacy Compton used pit strategy to get out front of this field, and now he's starting to fall back a bit after we passed the halfway point. He's dropped all the way back to the 6th position, trying to battle right now with Johnny Sauter for that spot.
Yeah, he's getting ready to lose that 6th spot right here. There's another good, strong battle.
There's teammates right there, 24 and the 25 side by side. And Ryan Sieg in the 39 coming up. We saw Ryan running 2nd earlier in this race.
A couple of these trucks have a little bit of differing strategy. What's going on down there, Ray?
Just to add to Phil, the 25 of Terry Cook and the 81 of Taylor Malcolm ducked onto pit road right before we went green there to ensure that they're in a fuel window to go the distance. Now, I don't know how likely it is that we'll run 65 green flag laps here, but if we do, the guys that pitted in the earlier sequence may be in very serious danger of running out of fuel. Most of the crew chiefs told me they need 10 to 12 laps of caution, and we didn't get that many. So the 25 and the 81 playing a safety valve here to get a little extra fuel. Adam?
And one of those guys that would need some help as far as cautions are concerned to make it the distance, Rick Crawford. But you won't hear him complain. He's having a very solid run in the top 5, and we have trouble on the racetrack. Stacy Compton around.
Sideways is Stacy Compton. Ricky Carmichael misses him. The caution flag flies. That was just a situation where he was on the outside line.
Well, Brian Scott helped him get to the outside line is what happened. Brian Scott got loose down on the inside of Stacy Compton, forced him up, got into him, forced him up out of the groove. That got Stacy sideways, and around he went. I tell you, Ricky Carmichael did a great job avoiding Stacy Compton.
He did. You know, this is one of those deals where you're going to run 3 wide into the corner. Brian Scott knows. I drove it in there just a little harder to make sure he clears. I mean, this is a huge run. Well, when you do this run, you're not coming in at a very good angle.
A bad angle, and he gets in there. He obviously chases it up the hill. There's a contact. He gets Stacy sideways. Stacy almost saves it. Watch Ricky Carmichael now. He's headed straight for his door.
Locks him up. The other thing that set that up is this 3 wide here. Brian Scott was down way low on the racetrack, and so when he got into turn 3, he was almost chasing it up the track immediately.
Well, he had no choice. Yeah. There's no physical way he could have turned the wheel enough to get by Stacy Compton, and he chased it up the hill, got into Stacy.
Not at the speed he was going in there. He was going in there pretty hard. He knew he had to use a brake. If he had a lot of rear brake, it's a pretty tough deal to go in there and try to hold it or hold the bottom of the racetrack on that angle, and that's exactly what happened there.
So Stacy Compton moves up the racetrack, slides sideways, and brings out our 6th caution of the day. And because of that, we are able to give an Aaron's lucky dog.
That's going to put him back on the lead lap. As much damage as that 15 truck has, he will be back on the lead lap now, one of 20 trucks on the lead lap.
Now, David Starr is 3 laps down. We saw him on pit road earlier under green flag conditions. He was side by side with his teammates earlier, but that was not for position. There are 18, well, there'll be 19 when we put Eichler back on the lead lap. So 19 trucks on the lead lap.
This gets them in their window now. Obviously 62 laps to go when they get to pit road to the start finish line. That gets all these trucks in their window. A couple trucks stay on the racetrack. Rick Crawford, Brian Scott stay on the racetrack, Ray.
Yeah, trying to follow up on exactly what everybody's doing down here, Phil, is so difficult with the way these new rules are. A lot of crew chiefs make their decisions right at the very last second. Now, Jeff Hensley had told me before the race started that they got into this position, they were going to stay out and get that track position. I'm at Timothy Peters right now, and as he brings that Strutmaster's truck in here, he's a little bit tight in turn number 3. They're going to put fuel in this thing and make an adjustment in the left front. The adjustment is done, fuel is in it, and away he goes. Adam?
Top of your screen, they talk tires, tires, tires for the leader, Ron Hornaday, and at the last minute called an audible fuel only. He is away. It will be fuel only for Bodine as well. They made a chassis adjustment, trying to free him up in the middle, and Bodine gets off pit road before Hornaday.
Great pit work by Mike Hillman Jr. and his guys to get Todd Bodine out in front of Ron Hornaday. We still have a few trucks on pit that stayed on the racetrack. Here's why we're under caution. Remember, Brian Scott, 3 wide, gets in on the inside, makes contact with Stacy Compton, gets him up out of the groove. He gets sideways. Ricky Carmichael does a great job avoiding him. Here's another view.
That's just a bad view when you see this coming. You're like, man, don't cross in front of me. And all of a sudden, Ricky did a great job. He's probably the second set of tires he flat spotted today. But that's a lot better than knocking the front end off this. I think he did a tremendous job for a rookie.
He either flat spots the front tires or the nose of that truck.
Exactly.
So the field lines up now behind the 14 of Rick Crawford. So Crawford stays out on the racetrack, as does Brian Scott. Those two are running 1 and 2. The race off of pit road, Todd Bodine got in front of Hornaday. Take a look at today's Stay in the Game with Just for Men hair color moment. Ricky Carmichael staying in the game, and he's going to have a close call here.
Watch that truck sideways. Here comes Ricky. He's headed straight for his door, locks the brakes up, and avoids Stacy Compton. Stacy Compton appreciates that as well.
Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. Rick Crawford bringing the field to the green flag. It's in the air. We're back underway. Rick Crawford, Brian Scott staying on the racetrack, as did Ryan Sieg.
Those are the 3 trucks that did not pit at all this round of pit stops. Todd Bodine was able to beat Ron Hornaday out of the pits. Now he's going to look to the inside of Ryan Sieg for that 3rd spot.
Problems with Crafton. Smoke coming out of the back of that. He was sideways.
Here comes Colin Brown. That opened the door for him in the bottom. Remember, Hornaday and Colin Brown have a little bit of history in this race.
Colin Brown right on the back bumper of that Longhorn Chevrolet. Let's see what happens.
Look at Crafton drive by on the outside.
Crafton looks like his truck's pretty good. He got a little over anxious going down there in the other corner, and just real fortunate. He's got a little damage there in the lower splitter there, which probably is not going to help him. But man, he is taking his.
Oh, problems behind him. Into the wall goes the 4.
Terry Cook's going to hit the inside wall.
Inside wall. Those two pinched together. There was a truck in the middle of that.
Yeah, it wasn't Terry Cook and Ricky Carmichael that got together initially.
7th caution of the day. We see the damage to the right front of that number 4 of Ricky Carmichael.
Yeah.
Just as we had mentioned, he was staying in the game, and this takes place.
Yeah, and look at that Cajun Toyota there with Terry Cook. Terry was battling up for a top 10 most of the day, and a lot of damage to that truck.
So you see the hard damage to the left front. Let's take another look. Again, it'll be just behind this pack.
That's Matt Crafton right there. Got in the corner a little bit hard, got sideways, did a nice job of staying off the 33 of Hornaday any more than he did.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he got underneath 33. 33 didn't give him as much room as Matt liked to have seen, and they just got into. Actually, Matt did a great job. He could have wrecked both of them.
Matt made a big run there trying to get by the 6. Now, here's the problem.
You got 3 wide right there. Just gets tight. The 25 and the 29 actually make contact initially, and then Terry gets into the 4 of Ricky Carmichael.
It looked like it's one of those cases where the 25 did not know he might have been 3 wide there. The 29 still had his nose in there. He just moved up, and as he moved up, he got pinched and turned his truck all the way into the 4. Heavy impact to the inside wall there, which will probably be pretty tough to be able to continue on with that.
Yeah, we're seeing the crew on the 4 team now. Look like they're about ready to push that truck. Maybe pushing that into the garage area to do some more work on it. The 25 is behind the wall as well. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Copart 200 from Gateway International Raceway here in Madison, Illinois. The field coming back to the green flag. It flies. Rick Crawford, Brian Scott. Both of their teams are saying they can make it on fuel from here.
Look at Hornaday now. Look at Crafton all over the back of Hornaday. He's pushing him.
Crafton pushing the 33 up the racetrack. He gets sideways, has to check up, so he loses that ground that he was trying to make up on the 33. And here comes the 6 of Colin Brown.
Going to be a battle getting down in turn number 3. Crafton's been good on the outside.
You would
he gets loose again. He wiggles.
He is still trying to get hold of that race truck. You wouldn't think Crafton would push Hornaday out of the way, would he?
Well,
trying to get back in this championship?
I don't think he was doing it for that reason. I think he was doing it for earlier when he didn't. The 33 may have not.
Oh, there's contact. The 6 goes around. The 88 was on the outside. The 6 got into him, and the 6 goes around of Colin Brown.
Well, we see that all the time. The truck on the inside loses the air off that rear spoiler. Those guys were really battling hard. Colin makes some contact with the outside wall. You see the tires rubbing right there. It doesn't look like significant contact, but it is going to bring him to pit road, and he will lose all his track position.
Yeah, those guys have been racing pretty hard. There's been a little bump and a bang in there, and I think some guys have been just getting overzealous there. And this was a case where he was trying to take advantage of it.
Here they are going down in turn number 1. Watch Colin. He's going to have to chase the truck up the hill. He wiggled and had moved up. He tried to stay off of Matt Crafton. Matt does a nice job, and Colin just couldn't keep control of that truck.
How about Mike Skinner also being able to check up and not get into
There's another
the
view.
6.
You see the contact right there. Then around goes Colin. Mike does a nice job avoiding that Conway Ford.
I think this is a case where he starts to slide up. He knows if he hit the 88 any harder, he was going to spin him. So, I mean, he was doing everything he could to stay off him. Unfortunately, it cost him in the long run.
Yeah, part of that is self-preservation. You don't want to hit that truck and take both of you out, and you hope that you can save
Just
that
save
thing.
it, yeah.
Did Matt Crafton say anything, Adam, on the radio after that contact?
Matt Crafton did not say anything on the radio, but there's been a lot of discussion in the 6 camp. You see Matt Crafton here. The last caution is where his radio was on fire, voicing his displeasure with how Hornaday had raced him on that last green flag run. He wanted so bad to get to the 33 on that restart, and as you guys pointed out, he was unable to do so. But no doubt the competitive juice is flowing as we close on the latter stages here at Gateway. Expect Colin Brown to come to pit road after suffering some minor damage in that last spin.
Adam, well, let's take a look at what you were talking about. You see the 88 right into the back of the 33. He actually is pushing him through the corner. Then he gets up beside him, and he gets a little bit loose. When he gets a tap from Colin, that allows Hornaday to score it out ahead of him.
Aaron's lucky dog going once again to Chris Fontaine. So he will get a lap back. That puts him on the lead lap. 18 trucks on the lead lap. The first truck a lap down. David Starr. Welcome back. Copart 200. 49 laps of racing to go from Gateway International Raceway, and race day is coming up next. That's race day built by the Home Depot. Actually, Kenny Wallace is a part of that show, and we're in Kenny Wallace's hometown.
Right, and he loves the Cardinals, and we went to that Cardinal game last night.
Right.
I want to thank the 100 people for those tickets. Excellent game, 1-0. The Braves won.
It was a phenomenal game. Although, you know, the Cardinals didn't win, and I think Kenny would be a little bit upset with that.
Real upset.
Real upset. There's the 6 of Colin Brown back on pit road. He is the reason for our most recent caution. Adam Alexander.
And he has made multiple pit stops under this caution, Rick. That's bad news because he lost a great deal of track position. But there is a little bit of a silver lining here in that, as we pointed out earlier in this race, teams got 5 sets of tires this weekend instead of 4. They had a set to put on. So Colin, while he lost a great deal of track position, they have fixed the damage as best they can. Fresh tires. He may be able to make a late race run through the field, Ray.
And Mike Skinner said the same thing. Adam, if we've got tires, let's use them. He came in and pitted on that sequence from lap 98 and 99, put on 4 tires, made a little track bar adjustment and put fuel in it. Skinner restarted in 15th and has moved his way back up inside the top 10. No, he's 11th now. So Skinner right on the edge of the top 10, and he feels like they've got a good enough truck and enough time now to work their way back to the front.
How about Rick Crawford out in front, though, after some pit strategy, staying on the racetrack? He and Brian Scott still out front. Todd Bodine, the freshest tires or most fuel, just behind him. Look at the move by Brian Scott. Right after they cross the start-finish line, he ducks to the inside. Can he take away the lead from Crawford?
Well, that's the best time to do it. You're most vulnerable right on the restart. Brian looks like he might have the advantage. Is he going to move up the hill? No, he leaves room for Crawford. Now he's got it.
Brian Scott out front. Now he tries to block as Crawford comes back down on the low side of the racetrack, and he's going to take the position away, or at least make an attempt at it.
Ooh, now Crawford gets a little bit loose. Same kind of situation. Look, he's going to lose 2 spots.
They were 4 wide and 3 and 4. They're 3 wide coming out of turn 4.
It's not going to work down to 1 and 2, Johnny.
No, not especially with
4 wide
here. So 4 wide going in here. Yeah, Crafton backs off. I mean, that was the smartest thing to do.
Oh, up the track is Hornaday. Hornaday up the track. Crafton trying to stay on the bottom of the track. He also moved up.
Here comes Crawford fighting back.
Todd Bodine running second now to that 33 of Ron Hornaday.
Looks like old tires are just hard to get hooked up with for a couple of laps. And obviously, Ron Hornaday ended up at the best spot. I don't think Brian Scott expected a 14. He gave him that room on the outside. Next thing you know, bam, here he is all the way, a third when he was going for the lead just a lap ago.
This is a great battle now for the 3rd spot. Matt Crafton on the inside. Brian Scott keeping the momentum up on the outside.
Right behind them, Johnny Sauter has joined this battle. Johnny's up in the top 5 again.
Crawford's dropped all the way back to the 6th spot.
Here comes Skinner with a little bit fresher tires than everybody else. He's right behind Crawford.
Yeah, when Skinner first come down pit road, I thought, man, he was going to lose a lot. But with, when they went green, it was about 48 laps to go. That's enough time with good tires to try to make some moves.
How about 4 wide at Gateway International Raceway? That just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Matt Crafton said, I'm going to make it 4 wide. You guys are having too much fun down here. He gets there. He knows that he's going to have a horrible angle. He's been in that position before. He backs off. Hornaday needed all the room he had, and he actually took a little bit extra. Took a little bit of Todd's room down there.
Yeah, and Ron moved down far enough to keep the 88 from there. That I don't know. I mean, that's just a bad deal to go in there corner 4 wide.
It looked like Matt Crafton was saying, you got to be kidding me. There's no way we can go through this corner 3 wide, and he lost track, moved up. Now a side-by-side battle for the 4th spot between Johnny Sauter and Brian Scott.
Remember, we talked how good Johnny Sauter's truck was at the beginning of the race, ran in the top 5 before the first round of pit stops, had some trouble on pit road, moved back outside the top 15, and now has finally worked his way back up into the top 5.
David Starr still 3 laps down to the field in that 24. We see Eric Almirola in the 51. He scored 8th.
There's Taylor Malsom right now. He's being shown in the 9th position. Nice comeback for him. He's made about 42 pit stops in this race.
And remember, in the Rookie of the Year competition, it's Johnny Sauter who leads Taylor Malsom. Sauter running 4th, Malsom running 9th.
There's Ryan Sieg at the very back of that battle. He's running in the 12th spot. Nonetheless, a great performance for him. Looking for a career best finish.
Taylor's been doing a great job this year. I've been pretty impressed with the amount of experience he's had in coming into this series. He's had some great runs. It's been pretty smooth and consistent. But I think his biggest thing is he is learning week in and week out.
Ray, what can you add about your neighbor?
Just adding to exactly what Johnny's talking about, and it's all about getting experience. I had a long talk with Doug Woolcott before the race started today, and he said it's trying to get Taylor to have confidence when we go to these tracks that he's never seen before. And as you guys talked about how difficult this racetrack is, to come here for your first time and be competitive running in the top 10, they're excited about that. But just keeping Taylor's head in the game each and every week, because throughout these practices, you can be on the top 1 minute and at the bottom the next, and that's pretty much what happened to the 81 throughout this weekend.
It has been impressive to see him mature as a driver. And obviously the mentoring that he receives is helping him out as he tries to progress through the ranks of NASCAR.
Remember Mike Skinner, his teammate, so a lot of experience with Mike Skinner, our first champion back in 1995 in the Truck Series.
So Taylor Malsom running in the 9th position. It's Ron Hornaday once again out in front. He's got about a second lead now over the 30 of Todd Bodine. Crafton has dropped back again to the 3rd spot. Johnny Sauter 4th, and Brian Scott is running in the top 5. Can Hornaday hold on and win his 7th race of the season? Well, it would tie his 1997 season for the most of his career in a season, and it would increase that points lead that he brought into Gateway International Raceway. Thanks, JR. After these 34 laps remaining in the Copart 200, we're going to find a TV so we can watch you guys on race day. What a exciting buildup that will be to the chase tonight.
I want to hear what those 11 guys that are racing for those 8 spots in the chase, what's going through their minds right now.
Well, there's a lot of people that are also in that race that don't want to cause problems for these guys up front. How'd you like to be in their shoes going into this race going, man, I don't want to be the guy that takes a guy out of the chase.
I remember when Dick Beatty was a series director for the Winston Cup Series back then, and we'd go to, usually Riverside was our last race of the year, and they said, okay, we've got Darrell Waltrip and Richard Petty, or Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earn, whoever race for a championship. If any one of you guys hits one of them, you better find the other one and hit him too.
Be fair. Well, fair hasn't been what we've seen here today from Ron Hornaday. He's been unfair to the field. He's been out front the most of anyone. He's led 87 laps. That means he will get 10 bonus points at the end of this race, 5 for leading a lap and 5 for leading the most laps.
He's been pretty much unfair all year, I think.
He has been unfair. And Matt Crafton running second in the point standings and currently third on the racetrack behind Todd Bodine.
The top 4 trucks that last lap ran within 3/100ths of a second of the exact same speed, and the guy running fourth actually ran faster. Johnny Sauter.
We're taking a look at his race truck. He's trying to battle back. Again, he was sideways not too many laps ago. Now he's running 12th behind Stacy Compton, trying to make that pass.
Looks like he's going to get alongside of Stacy there. And he didn't hit the wall that hard, but he hit it hard enough that it probably knocked the toe out. He's got good tires on there. He knows there's not a whole lot left in this race, and if he can get at least some of the stocks back, he'll be a little bit happier.
Johnny, I'm telling you, the truck on the move right now is that 5 truck of Mike Skinner. We documented that he had some new tires, newer tires than most of these other guys he's racing against. Each lap, he's consistently the fastest truck on the racetrack.
Let's take a look at how fast that 5 is as we look at the speeds at the line. Hornaday 130.47.
Look at Skinner, 131.05.
We said that in stereo.
Yeah, sounded good.
You have your hi-fi system at home. That would have sounded great.
Sounded good at my ears here too.
There's Johnny Sauter just in front of Mike Skinner, but for how long?
If Mike can get by Johnny Sauter and continue to catch those other guys, he's only about a second and a half behind that second, third place truck right now. So I tell you, Mike Skinner is racing his way back into this race.
He's coming back up there. He's got enough time to do something. He needs to be able to make some advancements as quick as he can, but he definitely needs a caution to make that happen. As you see, Colin Brown again taking another stab at Stacy here, thinking that, man, just let me get by. Let me just be by myself would be fine.
That's the battle for the 11th position. Colin actually had it at the line. Stacy drives in the corner hard. Colin's going to race him up off of turn number 2.
Keeping that momentum up on the outside. Stacy Compton able to get back in front of the 6.
Ryan Sieg, the 39, right behind him. Ryan's in the 13th position, which would match his career best if he stays there.
He started 13th today. That was a career best starting position for him. And these two stay door to door now as they go to the start finish line again.
Colin's just not quite able to clear Stacy. Stacy can get in the corner into turn number 1 pretty hard, as you can see right there.
Colin's just not as good through 1 and 2 as what he needs to be to complete the pass. He gets a little bit off. This is probably his best chance right here.
There's a modified there in front of them.
I just say up until they get to that corner, it's gonna block him a little bit. But Colin's a little bit quicker down this corner, and of course it just blows it out right there.
There's the block that was put in by James Busher. So we'll see if Stacy Compton can hold on to that spot now. It was 17/1000ths of a second that separated those two trucks when they went across the start finish line the last lap.
Colin's not going to give up. He knows he's got a few more spots he can gain. We talked about earlier what a tremendous job those guys have done since Dover. They were 20th in points, came into this race 6th in points, not very far out of 4th really coming into this race.
Colin Brown
finally makes the pass. Finally,
as you mentioned, 492 points back from our current point leader Ron Hornaday.
Only 31 behind Brian Scott coming into this race.
4th, 5th, and 6th separated by 31 points. Ray Dunlap. Oh, I'm sorry, Adam.
Why don't we talk a little bit about Eric Almirola running 7th in this race today. Excuse me, 8th in the running order is where he is now, going for his 7th consecutive top 10 finish. And he finished 2nd last week at Iowa. They brought that same truck here. The only problem is he moved from the 15 to the 51, so he had to adapt to a new machine. He has done it quite nicely, and if he stays in the top 10, it would be the first time ever that Billy Blue Motorsports has celebrated a top 10 at this racetrack. He is a driver who has been getting it done of late.
Final 25 laps of racing from Gateway International Raceway. We're going to slip away one more time. When we come back, you'll see everything to the checkered flags and beyond. Can Ron Hornaday hold on and become a repeat winner at Gateway? We're about to find out. Difference is good. How about different winners? We haven't seen too many this year. That 33 of Ron Hornaday has been to victory lane 6 times and looking to make it 7 today.
Yeah, Mike Skinner finally broke the stronghold that Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday had on this series. The last 7 races in a row were won by either Hornaday or Kyle Busch prior to last weekend's race at Iowa.
Skinner a dominant performance a week ago in Iowa, and now Skinner running in the 5th position. Todd Bodine still holds on to 2nd. This is a great rebound from a week ago at Iowa. Todd was 19th at that new racetrack.
See Matt Crafton right there running 3rd. Remember, he had some trouble, had to actually make an unscheduled pit stop, but under caution to raise the front end of that truck up because it was hitting the splitter. Nice rebound for him right now running 3rd.
It's really got to be frustrating for Matt Crafton running 3rd and not able to gain on the guy in front of him in points because he continues to dominate.
Well, just go back to last week. Last week, Ron finally had problems. He struggled. Even though he run 4th, he wasn't able to take advantage of it. Now Ron's sitting there dominating the race, and he's running 3rd. You know, and he's like, man, I can't do nothing.
The week before that, Ron has one of his worst finishes in a long time. Finishes 11th. Matt finishes 14th.
Johnny Sauter currently in the 4th spot, but again up front, Ron Hornaday. Ray, what have you got on it?
Well, Rick, let's talk about all-time wins in this series. Of course, Jack Roush got number 50 with Colin Brown at Michigan this year. But what a role Kevin Harvick Incorporated is on with Hornaday and this season that they're having. If he holds on to get the win today, it'll be the 25th career win for Kevin Harvick Incorporated, and that will tie them with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated and Hendrick Motorsports. And they're planning on taking this exact same truck next week when we go to Loudon, New Hampshire. And as I told you at the top of the show, it already has 4 wins. Today would be 5 if they hold on, and they could be going for 3rd in the all-time list in wins for Kevin Harvick. That's a pretty impressive record for that young team.
A very young team, Ray. I mean, it's impressive what they've been able to do, but they've put some great people behind the wheel.
And it would be win number 46 for Ron Hornaday in the series. Almost as many as Jack Roush has to be the all-time victor.
Yeah, and I mentioned behind the wheel, he has got some great people all around. We heard the name Rick Corelli earlier talking about being a spotter for Ron Hornaday. Well, Rick Corelli has won in this series. I mean, you've got some great people all around this team that continues to make it better.
Rick Wren, all-time winning crew chief. Rick, you raced with him, Johnny. Had a lot of success.
Yeah, Rick is, I mean, he's very, very positive of what he needs to do to these race trucks, especially going into the race. Ron had talked about some of the changes that he made during this weekend and says, you know what, let's go back to what we know, put it in there. Sure enough, it works very, very well.
The most laps that Ron Hornaday has led at this racetrack was 113 laps. That was back in 2008. He's looking to increase and, well, shatter that number today as he's got 15 laps to go and he's already led 105 laps. So looking to potentially lead 120 laps. How about the rebound for the 6 of Colin Brown?
I was just thinking the very same thing. Already back up to the 9th position with obviously a damaged truck right there. Colin and this team has done a terrific job getting that truck back on the racetrack, back in contention. And obviously, Johnny, you know, with the contact he had, more than likely he has some damage to that truck, but he's up on top of that wheel right now.
He is. I mean, I think that, you know, his truck is decent. It was better earlier with the damage, but he is still driving that thing and doing the best job he can for, you know, Conway and everybody there and trying to get back up to where he felt that he should have finished anyways.
Gets up into the top 10 now. And when we mention rebounds, I mean, you've obviously got to mention the 88 of Matt Crafton, who rebounded from his earlier problems.
And Johnny Sauter as well. Remember, had a bad pit stop, dropped all the way back to 20th after running in the top 5. Matt Crafton right now runs in the 3rd spot, and Adam, he can't gain any ground on Hornaday.
And one of the big issues as far as the championship is concerned is the bonus points that you pick up for leading a lap and leading the most laps. Entering today's race, Hornaday had compiled some 95 bonus points in 2009. That because he's led more than a fourth of the laps run this season. Matt Crafton had only 35 points, so there's a 60-point swing when you look at the overall picture of the championship. And it's happened again today. Hornaday has led the most laps. Crafton is yet to be out front for a circuit. You can add 10 more bonus points to Hornaday's pool. And when it comes down to the end of the season and we decide a champion, that is where one of the big differences is for Ron Hornaday, who's been so successful this year.
And not to mention the additional points you get for winning the race as well.
Oh, caution on the racetrack. We're hearing debris from NASCAR, and so that will tighten the field up. We can't say that it's over, obviously, until it's over. Hornaday has lost 15 times after leading more than 100 laps in a race. So we can't count out the rest of this field. Todd Bodine, Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, all very hungry right behind Hornaday.
Just throw out the negative stats, why don't you? Unbelievable. The guy's won 46 times, 45 times, Johnny, and he's going to talk about how many times he's lost when he led over 100 laps.
Well, those are some numbers that are, well, hopefully he doesn't want to increase, but those are other numbers that we don't talk about all the time.
Russell had to give you those numbers. You wouldn't have thought of those negative numbers on your own.
I would never think of negative numbers. And obviously before lap 10, with 10 to go, we're able to give an Aaron's Lucky Dog. So Mikey Kyle is going to receive this free pass from Aaron's Lucky Dog.
From Michael and Ken Butler and all the folks at Aaron's?
That's right.
You know Michael would be happy.
Michael, I'm sure, is ecstatic right now as he sees Mikey Kyle.
He's watching too. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Michael. We hope you're enjoying the race. We hope you're all enjoying the race from Gateway International Raceway. Again, we mentioned we're sticking with you here until the checkered flag. As we get close to inside of 10 laps to go, that will be a single file restart. And I'm sure Rick Wren has probably got the Tums nearby, doesn't he, Adam?
I haven't seen any Tums go in his mouth yet. Rick, I know this isn't what you wanted. You got one of the best restarters ever, so can you hold him off for 10 more laps?
Well, we're pretty good, and we've kind of been expecting this. This is pretty much the way it goes when you're out front. There's usually a caution at the end. So I know he's been backing off. I can see it on the lap times, trying to save his tires. I mean, I know we're better than everybody else, but you never know on a restart. I mean, we got the best guy in the business for restarts, but things can always happen. But if we get a good, smooth restart, I'd like to think we can hold him off.
You got some Tums handy just in case?
I already ate about a quarter of a bottle today. I'm just waiting for something to go wrong.
He's a nervous wreck, and I guess you would be when you have a truck that's this dominant.
Well, he has been so good. And as I mentioned earlier, there's the debris that they were picking up. It's in the race groove, just right by the race groove. So they wanted to make sure that they picked that up so it won't affect the finish of this race. Again, Ron Hornaday has led 110 laps. It'll be 111 when they go across the start-finish line. There's Timothy Peters on pit road in the strutmasters.com number 17.
Timothy has some extra tires. You see sticker tires going on that Strutmasters truck. 1 to go here. He's going to get back to the racetrack certainly in plenty of time. See how many positions he may be able to gain right at the very end.
He might have been close to being the last one on the lead lap, so this is a good call to come do this. If you were up a little further, obviously I don't know if that's the case, but if you're near, you know, almost the last one on the lead lap, it's worth coming down there and doing
Even
this.
with 2 or 3 trucks behind you on the lead lap, it's worth coming down because, you know, on this restart, they may get jumbled up. You may get 5 or 6 trucks on the first corner of the restart.
Yeah, you want some positive stats?
Absolutely.
The leader has won this race with 10 laps to go in all of the 11 races before, except for that 2004 race when we had about 19 restarts.
Well, that's a good positive
That's
stat.
a positive stat. Ray Dunlap.
Hey, real quickly, let me add on Timothy Peters. They've made an adjustment on the last pit stop that had really killed him in turn 3. So Chad Kendrick, his crew chief, said, let's come in here, put these tires on. I'll make a little air pressure adjustment for you and try to help you get through there. He's been good in 1 and 2 all day long. They're hoping this makes him a little better in 3 and 4.
Well, the fans have all just rose in the grandstand. So everyone on their feet. It will be the final 8 laps of racing from Gateway International Raceway. How important are the restarts? One of the best is bringing him to the green flag. Ron Hornaday, 8 laps to go.
And he had at least 2 truck links when he got to the start-finish line. Oh, Todd gets turned.
Todd slides to the inside. Will he slide back up in the groove? Yes, and more contact. Rick Crawford is involved. Colin Brown is involved.
That was just a huge misfortune there. And Todd looked like he saw the 33 come and tried to block him. And the 33 says, you know, I've had enough of that today. I'm sorry, the 88. And Matt just, you know what, he just said, I had enough.
Look at the damage to that Ventrilo Toyota.
And again, it looked like hit from the back. He slid, and if he wouldn't have slid back up on the racetrack, probably not much damage to that race truck, and he could have got back out there. But problems for that 30 team, Adam.
And Todd Bodine just came on the radio, and the quote was, I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to do it. It's bad. We're not finishing. And that shot says he is exactly right.
Tough break.
What a
for
difficult
Todd.
Day again for this team.
Take a look now, Johnny. As you mentioned, Todd did not get a very good start. Crafton's going to dive to the inside. Todd moves over to try to take that spot, and they just make contact there. Todd was hoping Crafton would give him a little bit more room. He didn't do it. Then when he comes back up the racetrack, Colin Brown, Rick Crawford trying to get by on the outside. They knew he was coming. They were trying to get by before he got there.
Yes, that's all it was. I mean, Todd saw him coming. He got there, and then but he kept pressing the issue, kept trying to move down, and it just made for a bad deal. I mean, if Todd would have spun, went down there, had the grass not have been there, maybe wouldn't have come up in front of the track. So it did definitely get a bunch more trucks besides just him.
Unfortunate for Todd Bodine, but the situation now is we have the 88 will be right on the back bumper of the 33 for the restart.
And we know he wasn't happy with the 33 about something that happened earlier. We know he doesn't have any more motor. They have the exact same engine build. The Pro Motor builds the engines for both those trucks, as we watch. As a matter of fact, Johnny Sauter in third has the exact same engine as well.
Yes, Mike Skinner made the move to the outside of that 13, trying to take the pass. Here's what Todd Bodine felt like and what it looked like when we were riding along with that 30.
What a great restart. Look at Ron Hornaday. He already has 2 truck links. Now Todd sees the 88 coming. You know, he gets turned way before they ever get to the corner.
It was way before, but he had him run down pretty low, too. I mean, it was just, it's an unfortunate thing that happened is all it is to it.
There's Matt. Let's ride with it.
He gets a good start. He's going to pull to the inside. You can see, obviously, Matt did not go up.
No, and he got
never
out of
went
the
up.
gas, too.
Yep.
This is coming right at you.
Well, that's a helpless feeling, though, when you're Todd and you get turned around like that. And there's nothing he could do to keep that truck from sliding back up on the racetrack.
No, I mean, once he's turned, you're just pretty much at the mercy of just sliding and going where it's going to go. So we're under red flag right now. It's going to give us a great finish to the end because there's only 7 laps to go. And if they would have continued running, we would have just had a green-white checkered. So this is going to make for a great race.
They want to make sure to clean the racetrack. Involved in this one, Colin Brown. You see that one on the hook. That's a tower, by the way. Just want to make sure you knew that. Rick Crawford and Todd Bodine, the other 2 that were involved in this incident. So Todd Bodine on the restart, running second, trying to block the 88 of Matt Crafton coming to the inside. He goes around right back up the racetrack. The 14 and the 6 are caught up in it. Under red flag conditions from Gateway International Raceway, race day built by the Home Depot is coming up next. Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, all guests, as well as the real deal. Wendy Venturini sits down with Brian Vickers.
Going to talk to everybody involved in that chase for the Sprint Cup.
We should probably talk right now to the one involved in this one, and that's Todd Bodine. He's with Ray Dunlap.
Well, he's going to take a look at the damage here on his race truck, and actually he's already done that and walking away. Wants to get over here and sit down in the shade, I think. See if I can get over here. Todd, it appeared that maybe you didn't get quite going as fast as you'd like to on the restart.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's hard to get going when you have Chevrolets on each end of you and you're lacking 20 horsepower from what they got. That's right where it shows up on restarts. And I tried to jump it a little bit, held back from Ron and jumped it, but Matt got a good restart. You know, I blocked him, no doubt about it. But how stupid do you have to be to turn somebody going in the corner with 8 laps to go. I mean, there's no cure for stupid. This kid has done this crap his whole career. He's done it to Hornaday this year. He just did it to me. Hell, he wasn't even up far enough to turn me. And the only thing I can tell you, man, what goes around comes around. And that kid's going to get turned. I'm telling you straight out. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous right there.
And you see the final take here, Todd, as we're showing the replay there, and a pretty hard hit once you did get settled back up across the track. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I hate it for Colin and Rick. I mean, Colin had a good truck. You know, he just got back a little on the pit stops. But, you know, there's just no cure for stupid. And the kid's been that way his whole career, and he's going to continue. I mean, the kid's second in the points. What if he didn't clear me and turn me and he turned himself into the wall? Then he could be 4th in points. The kid doesn't think.
Thank you for your time. That is Todd Bodine, and I'm telling you guys, this Ventrilo Toyota Tundra is absolutely destroyed.
I'll tell you, let's see if we can talk to Matt Crafton and then the 88 truck. Hey, Matt Crafton, Phil Parsons up in the speed booth. You have a copy?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear.
Hey, Matt, you just on the red flag now after that unfortunate incident down there with the 30 truck. Tell us what happened from your perspective.
Well, I just got a really good restart on the deal, and I got under him, got to his left rear quarter panel, and he ran me down, and I moved down with him. And it's inside of 10 to go. And if it was any other time, I would have lifted, but I mean, the last thing I want to do is wreck somebody. I hate that, really do, for him. But, I mean, these guys work too hard to just let off and let somebody go.
Okay, you got that 33 truck right in front of you now. Obviously, that's the guy you're battling for this championship. You had some issues with him a little bit earlier in this race, Matt. Are you exactly where you want to be now inside of 10 laps to go?
Tell you one thing, I ain't scared. Ain't scared at all. I'm ready.
All right, have a good one, buddy. Good luck.
I love it. I ain't scared. That's Matt at the Home Depot. And let me tell you,
we may be a long way from being done here. The only good thing is we can only do one green and white checker.
That's right. That's right. We have 6 laps to go when they come back around. It'll be 5 to go. It looks like the lights are still on the pace truck, so they might send them around one more time with just 4 to go before we get the green flag. Ron Hornaday, always spectacular at restarts, but Matt Crafton making a comment, I ain't scared.
I think a part where he's saying he's not scared. If Ron doesn't get as good of a restart as what he had liked and his is good, I think what he's saying is that even as an opportunity to get alongside of him, he is going to go alongside of him.
And it would be one thing if that 88 truck has been shown to be stronger than the 33 all day, then you would think he would have a good chance to either get to his bumper or get beside him. But that 33 truck has had so much strength. I don't think if Matt doesn't get close to him on the restart, I'm not sure he's going to be able to catch him, Johnny.
Well, he's not going to be able to catch him, but the one thing is neither one of them have been that great onto the restarts for the first couple of 2-3 laps.
And we have seen the 88 get right on the back bumper of that 33 on restart, so we'll see if that happens next. But first, let's go down to Colin Brown. He's with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Colin, certainly a roller coaster day today. Is that a great way to summarize it?
Yeah, you know, I guess it is. It's definitely a disappointing day for this number 6 Common Freight Ford F-150 team. Really feel bad we tore that truck up. I mean, that was a good truck for us. And, you know, I just made a mistake inside Crafton there way before that. Got loose, I guess, and spun around. And that's what put us back there with all those guys. And, you know, I don't know what happened on that restart. From where I was sitting, they were 3 wide in front of me, and I couldn't see anything. And the next thing I know, the 30 is just coming across the racetrack in a hurry, and that was that.
Kind of the way to summarize this season for these guys. They have a couple of great weeks and then a down week. That's the way it's been for the 6 team.
Yeah, difficult finish to the day after the run he's had on the latter half of this season. That's Colin Brown heading back into his hauler. Now we will have 4 laps of racing to go around this 1.25 miles. Ron Hornaday in front of Matt Crafton, 1 and 2 in the points, and Crafton, well, he ain't scared.
Hey, we got Mike Skinner with a little bit fresher tires on those front 2 trucks, too. He may be a factor.
Yeah, and he's 3rd in the points.
Yeah, I mean, to 5 just got by to 13 there, and I'm sure he's thinking, boy, these guys already had some issues. Just a little bit. Give me that chance.
Let them get together going in the corner, and I'll just drive by on the inside, maybe.
And if we've seen people struggle coming off turn 2, and if that happens, sometimes that guy in 3rd place has got a pretty good shot at getting by him before they get to turn 3.
Just give me an opening. How about Johnny Sauter back there in 4th? Brian Scott in 5th. It's all going to shake out now. 4 laps of racing to go. The fans are back up on their feet. The green flag will go in the air. We're back underway. 4 to go from Gateway.
Crafton's all over him. He's got a run, a little bit of a run. He moves to the inside. There's the contact.
Contacting in. Crafton gets into the back of the 33, and Hornaday spins around. Oh, and big contact behind him. That's the 07 that gets into the 33. Jason Young driving that 07. What a difficult situation this has got to be for the 33 team. Ron Hornaday sitting in his truck. Rick Wren on top of the pit box. I'm sure worried about his driver right now. Look at the back end of that truck. Gone.
Back end is gone. He's going to have to definitely park that in. The thing is, oh, that ain't good. Those guys can be mad. He had a run on him, and obviously we're going to see a couple views of this. If a guy's got a run coming like that, you got to give him a little bit of room because this could happen.
It's almost a carbon copy of what we saw with Matt Crafton and Todd Bodine.
Now, what does this mean? Ron Hornaday will not finish this race. More than likely, he will finish in the 16th to 17th position. David Starr has scored 3 laps down. We will only have 3 laps to go.
Well, David Starr will complete lap 157. Let's take a look back at what happened. You see Ron is extremely upset. Matt Crafton got a good run. He moves to the inside. They got down to the corner. I tell you, that really looked a lot different on replay from what the other situation was with Todd and Matt Crafton.
It was. This was a different situation.
They were really all the way to the corner.
Here's a better view. I mean, Ron's trying to block him. There's no doubt. But the 88, he's not quite there. But he went as low as he could.
Yeah, Ron was almost down to the curbing on the inside of the racetrack. So it was a lot later. You see Jason Young come along with nowhere to go. And then Mikey Kyle makes contact with the 07, but really unfortunate. Here's another view right here. Watch. They're already down to the corner there. Matt just had his nose up beside the left rear quarter panel, not even to the rear tires. So it had a lot different look than what Todd and Matt's deal looked like.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I mean, he's got to run. I don't know if this was going to be a passable deal. That's not that view right there showed it's not a passable deal.
From listening to that 88 truck, I don't think that was intentional. I think he got him in the corner maybe a little bit hot, but I swear I don't think that was a deal where I'm going to go take him out when we get down to the corner.
No, I mean, you could hear him get off the gas. It was probably not a very good judgment deal, but it's late in the deal. He's got to make something happen. He has to,
inside 5 laps.
Try to do that. And it just, maybe he thought, you know what, I'm there. Please give me a little bit of room. And then he didn't get that room he was hoping for.
And you get into that corner so hard, you use all the brake you have getting down to that corner. It could have been a misjudged situation. Obviously, Ron pulled down to try to block him. Matt had a good run on him, and they got to the corner, and they got in trouble at him.
Bud Hafley, the crew chief for Matt Crafton, is one of the coolest, calmest characters you'll ever see. You see him sitting on the pit box right there. I'm sure his blood pressure went up just a little bit because a number of crew members from the 33, almost as soon as Hornaday hit the wall up in turns 1 and 2, came down to pay their respects, if you will, to this 88 team. There were no punches thrown. There was no pushing or shoving. NASCAR officials were there to intervene very quickly. But there was no doubt the tempers were high. Bud just sat in his seat, held his hand up, told him to calm down. And you can see the frustration in the eyes of all of Ron Hornaday's crew members as they make that long walk to the garage, realizing with now just over 7 races to go in this season, the championship is on.
Well, and any time a truck gets torn up, you get tempers flaring. And obviously that 33 team, they're not happy.
Hey, we've talked about Matt Crafton and what he was thinking. We talked to Matt Crafton and what he was thinking, what was on his mind. He said he wasn't afraid. But, hey, if I'm Ron Hornaday, Johnny, and I drive down in that corner, I think I got to the corner. I'm almost to the curb down there. I'm not expecting to get a shot in the left rear quarter panel.
You're not, but Ron knew he was coming in there, So if you are in that thing and you see he's got a shot, you're thinking championship. You're thinking, you know what? Even if he won the race, he's not hurting me into points. So maybe I should give him a little bit of room. I mean, you could take both sides on this. I mean, if you're in the 33's camp, he definitely got in there, not on purpose. But if you're on the other side, he's like, look, you know what? He's trying to block me too. So you kind of see both sides on this little deal.
I don't think it was an intentional deal where Matt Crafton drove down in turn number 1 to try to take out Ron Hornaday.
Let's hear from the cool customer, the crew chief for the 88, Bud Hafley.
I guess the good news is, Bud, you've got a smile on your face. That was an interesting situation. What was Matt's reaction on the radio after the contact in turn 1?
No comment, really, other than he got a good run on both those guys, and they both tried to come down on him. You cannot give it back to him this late in the race. I mean,
How tough is that fine line when you're running for a championship, going after a win and choosing to either let a guy go or not?
It's a fine line. But if you're under the guy, the spotter's got to tell him he's there. You have to.
And now here you are, 4 laps, less than 4 laps to go. You're going to be in the lead for the restart. Can he hold him off? Because obviously the 30 and the 33 out front weren't able to hold Matt behind.
Now we got to just hope the 5 don't do exactly the same thing. Get under us and same deal.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, same deal. Just a little further down on the racetrack, we saw the 88 with a run. He gets down below. This is where Rick Corelli would say looking inside, wouldn't he? As the spotter for Ron
You're going to
Hornaday.
hear that, and I'm sure he did hear that. You have to make the choice. The spotter's going to give you the information. You got to deal with the best that you think you know how to deal with it. Did he hear him probably say inside? Absolutely. He already knew that because he was going to crowd down that way. At that point in time, he needs to make the decision of what am I going to do, and he kept it tight.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny's exactly right now. And Johnny mentioned the fact that Ron Hornaday is racing for this championship, has a huge lead. Was that a situation where maybe he should have given him some more room? But hey, last year at Phoenix, we had 2 guys racing for a championship, and they both wrecked at Phoenix. Oh, I'm sorry, one of those was
happens
Johnny.
to be sitting right next to you. Exactly.
We didn't wreck each other.
That's right. That's right.
No, but you tried to make it fair, didn't you? We are hearing that NASCAR is going to post the 88. That means they're going to say more than likely rough driving. And what that will do is, well, more than likely take away a potential win from the 88.
Oh, it's going to take away the win. There's no question about that.
Potential. Now, obviously, he still has 3 laps that he has to race.
Right.
So we're not saying that he was going to win, but this will put him at the back of the lead lap cars, and so that will put him back to probably 13th on the racetrack.
I think this is a pretty tough call. You know, I mean, he didn't. I think if he would have drove into him under throttle and wrecked him or something like that, it might have been a little bit different. But you know, but that is not the first incident he's been in today. So
right. And it's hard
to say.
You know what? It's hard to read. The crowd obviously went by. Or when the field went by. And obviously, if you're watching right now, NASCAR Race Day will be coming up next right here. But you've got to watch the final 3 laps of racing from Gateway International Raceway. The fans got up on their feet. They were applauding when the field went by, but you can't tell if they were applauding Matt Crafton or if they were applauding the fact that he just received the black flag.
We heard some people booing earlier, so
Right.
I'm assuming that they were probably clapping on NASCAR's decision to put him at the back of the deal. So it's tough because the grandstands doesn't have the view that we have on TV.
Right. And right now the black flag is being done by Matt Crafton, so he moves to the back, Adam.
And just to confirm what JB just pointed out, the crowd was indeed cheering the reaction from NASCAR, or the decision from NASCAR rather, to black flag the 88. And I know that simply because of how they were taunting the pit crew after the incident up in turns 1 and 2. This is a partisan Hornaday crowd, that or it's just a bunch of race fans that did not appreciate what happened on that last restart, but they were in fact cheering the decision made by NASCAR.
And we see the 88, the Menard Chevrolet, coming onto pit road. And again, the fans, well, they're showing their emotions as well.
We talked about the 5 being in a catbird seat. He didn't have to pass either one of them.
How about this?
Yeah.
Mike Skinner back out in front. Could he go back-to-back with wins after dominating in Iowa and maybe falling into a win at Gateway? But that decision to put tires and fuel for Mike Skinner really put him in this position because he was able to fight his way back up to a 3rd place, and now the top 2 in front of him are off the track.
Oh, absolutely.
It looked like when we watched him do that, I said, well, he's given up all the track position. That may be insurmountable. But we've had so much stuff go on in the last 20 laps, and Mike's had a great truck. And here he is, obviously for a green-white checker in position maybe to get win number back-to-back.
Yep, back-to-back after winning at Iowa.
Is that a number, back-to-back?
Winning number back-to-back. Well, I'll go with it. Mike Skinner, after starting 9th, we thought that was a little bit far back for him. Now up in front, he's got Johnny Sauter just behind him. And now we're seeing the 88 roll back off of his pit stall, and he'll make his way back out onto the racetrack. I'm sure that right now we've heard some emotional comments from a few different people, and I'm guessing that there might be steam coming out of the ears of the driver of that 88 truck right now. How frustrated he must be after thinking that he didn't do anything wrong, but getting black flagged.
That puts that thing in such a tough scenario right there, whether he did something wrong or not. I think it probably was a couple of different things. One, he's been in a couple incidents today. Right. Two, he said he wasn't scared if anything was going to happen, and that just puts that puts everybody in a bad situation.
And remember, he used to drive that truck for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. It was actually number 6 then with Good Wrench sponsorship. They switched to number 33, but that was the team that he drove for a few years ago.
Johnny Sauter just behind Mike Skinner. Now, Skinner has quite a few wins to his resume. Johnny Sauter has never been to victory lane in the Camping World Truck Series. So here's an opportunity for Johnny Sauter in that Fun Sand Chevrolet to maybe break out of the, well, best career finish of 2nd and get into victory lane in the Camping World Truck Series.
How about Brian Scott running 3rd right now? Look at the guys in the top 5. Eric Almirola, another great run, and Taylor Malsom. He's made 77 pit stops in 158.9 laps, and he's running 5th right now.
Well, it's all to be decided. Randy Kaiser pulls the pace truck one more time onto pit road. We only do one attempt at a green-white checkered finish, and this will be it. They're all following Mike Skinner. Green flag back in the air. 2 to go from Gateway.
Look at Matt Crafton is passing trucks before he gets to the start-finish line.
We've seen it before. Johnny Sauter looked to the inside of Skinner. This time, the leader doesn't go around. Skinner trying to hold him off as they come out of 2.
I think the 13 had a good enough time to be there, and he thought, you know what, I just saw this happen. I'm not going to be part of this.
I've seen this movie.
Yes, and it looks like they're both doing a great job, and you know, right now I got to give the upper hand to the 5.
The 5 throwing it into turn 3 a little bit harder than that 13. Let's see if the momentum on the 13 can do anything as they come back for the white flag. A great battle behind those two for that 4th spot. Crafton trying to battle back as well as he tries to get the best finish he can on the outside of Stacy Compton. Out in front, though, the 5 of Mike Skinner now has 2 truck links between himself and Johnny Sauter. Can Skinner make it back-to-back wins in the 2009 season? As he comes out of turn number 4, Mike Skinner is going to win at Gateway International Raceway.
Look at 3 wide back there for position.
Skinner, Sauter, Brian Scott, Eric Almirola, and Taylor Malsom, your top 5 from Gateway. What an unbelievable finish we've had here. Matt Crafton coming back to a 6th place finish after restarting in the 12th position.
What a great job by Mike Skinner. Great pit work, strategy.
And oh, by the way, the significant other, the better half, as we heard about earlier today in the setup, Angie Skinner's making her way to the victory lane area. She will celebrate once again. She mentioned it being a soap opera. She thinks of each one of these races being a soap opera. Who's the villain today in the soap opera? Well, Matt Crafton has been deemed the villain today as he was black flagged before that final restart.
What great stories, though, up on the top 5. How about let's go down to Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Phil. Ron Hornaday, his wife Lindy, standing here talking it over with Todd Bodine, and what an unbelievable turn of events, Ron.
Well, my own fault. I got a slow start right there, and I guess he didn't want to go around the outside. He wanted to dump me. I seen him do it to the 30 earlier, so it's a shame. I don't know what to say. It just flat stupidity, so we'll go on. We'll have to race harder and know how to race them now.
Well, you had an absolutely dominant truck today. That's got to give you some confidence going to our next race in Loudon.
Yeah, earlier in the race I got into the 6, and I got to apologize about that. I got into him coming off of 2 there, and then he didn't like it, so we come down the straightaway and touched a couple times. But you know, that was hard racing. That's not racing right there when you destroy a guy's truck like that. So hopefully you have a good piece for Loudon.
All right, we wish you good luck, Ron Hornaday. Tore up truck down here in the garage area, guys.
Yeah, difficult situation. You see Matt Crafton's out of his race truck now. And you wouldn't think a marked man. I mean, getting out of that truck, I'm sure a lot of people are not happy with Matt Crafton, but a 6th place finish. When you look at the big picture, Matt Crafton has, well, whittled away a little bit on that lead that Ron Hornaday brought in.
Yeah, no one is going to talk about that, though.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about what happened on the racetrack.
Hornaday with a 192-point lead now over Matt Crafton. Skinner just 213 points back in 3rd. Still a great battle for that 4th spot. Brian Scott, Todd Bodine, and Colin Brown all fighting for that position. Again, the top 5 are on the stage when we go to the banquet at the end of the season. How about Johnny Sauter jumping into the top 10?
Yeah, jumped up a couple spots with a great runner-up finish here. His matches his career best.
Again, if you're hanging on for NASCAR Race Day, that's coming up next. We wanted to get to the checkered flag here in the Camping World Truck Series. We may have gone a little bit long, but it was definitely full of emotion and excitement. Skinner continuing to try to destroy those rear tires. And this number 5, I think he went all the way around the racetrack doing a burnout.
He's going to miss victory lane time here in a short little bit.
We've got to get to race day here in a minute here. We've got a bunch of chase competitors to talk to.
We've got some great stories coming up with JR and the boys. Some visitors that are going to join them on the show. And now with Matt Crafton, let's go down to Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, down here in the garage area, plenty of NASCAR officials making sure things don't get out of hand. Only about 50 yards over to Ron Hornaday and then over to this side of Matt Crafton. Matt, were you surprised when you got the black flag?
I was absolutely, beside myself. What did he want? Invitation and, flowers to win the race. I was to his left rear, quarter panel. I could see if I went in there and ran in the back of him. I did not go in there and run in the back of him. I got 2 really good restarts. I got underneath Bodine. He ran me down, and I just stopped because I wasn't going to be able to make the corner. And, if it was, halfway through the race, I would have lifted and did it. But these guys work hard on these things to just let off and just give somebody a position right there at the end. I hate it. That's the last thing you do is want to wreck somebody. But, what do you do? Just let off and just let them guys have the spot? It's not going to happen.
Tell me about the 30 incident. We just saw a replay. Here comes Matt. If you see here, he went. No, this is the deal, I guess, with Hornaday. Here you come down to the inside there and had the position.
Without a doubt, I had the position. You've seen him turn left, and his truck hit my truck. I didn't go up and hit his truck, didn't run in the back of his truck to do that. Absolutely. He came down, and he hit the nose of my truck. You can see it clear as day right here. We got there. What more do you need in there? I had a nose in there. It's green, white, checkered. I'm not just going to let him have it.
And Matt Crafton comes out here with a 6th place finish, and now we need to get to victory lane with Adam Alexander.
And for the 2nd consecutive week, Mike Skinner celebrating in victory lane. He dominated at Iowa. Today's performance, anything but he's right where he wanted to be when the checkered flag goes in the air. I think your quote on the radio after this race said it best. I don't believe it. Talk about today's race and being in victory lane for a 2nd consecutive week, Mike.
I don't believe it. I'm usually on the short side of that call, and with the 13 there, and I was better than he was, and he was doing his job. He did a good job, and I guess we got by him there on the wreck, and then I have to applaud NASCAR. We got to sometime we got to stop being able to wreck the leader to win these races. Pretty soon you're just going to have the last 20 laps just going to be the next guy wrecking the next guy. So I chose not to wreck Ron twice this year when I had the opportunity, and I think today it came back and paid dividends.
Last week your truck was unbelievable. Not as good this week. You come down pit road, just over 60 laps to go. Some new tires. Is that the difference in you being here right now?
No, they're flat spotted when Colin wrecked down there, which I hate it for Colin, man. I hate it for Conway. I hate it for all those guys. But, we had horrible pit stop today, and that's what got us back there. Our truck was good. I don't think it was as good as Ron's, but it was better than Matt. It was probably as good as the 30. So, I felt like we had a 2nd-place truck today anyway. And, I just can't thank PC Myler Navigator enough, and Exide Batteries, and Justin Boot, Easy Go Golf Carts, Randy Moss, Motorsports. Randy, we got him again, and David Dollar, Eric Phillips. Eric called a great race. We just struggled in the pits a little bit. We're going to work on that. We got great guys. We'll get it.
Congratulations on 2 in a row.
Thank you, Toyota Tundra.
Here are the unofficial points as we have 7 races remaining. 197. Again, I say unofficial because we're hearing that NASCAR maybe taking a lap away from Matt Crafton.
Well, it looked like on the restart that he jumped by some trucks before they got to the start-finish line. You're not supposed to do that, so they may do that. But if not, we said before the show he had to gain about 30 points a race. He gained about 30 this time, if it stays.
From the arch, it was the gateway to the west. Next race on speed for the trucks, it's New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the hell of a good 200. That's Saturday, September 19th, 2:30. Another afternoon race for the truck race. Johnny, thanks for joining us up here once again.
Thank
you.
For
Phil Parsons, Adam Alexander, Ray Dunlap, I'm Rick Allen saying thanks for joining us here in the Camping World Truck Series. Now, enjoy NASCAR Race Day with JR and the boys.